Hey guys, we got another Cleveland Moto podcast. I want to light one up here. They're off. Yeah, exactly. Look at this fucking table of brown liquor and mead and all this other amazing shit.
Oh, the mead is the best I've ever had.
The mead is
I'm not
delicious.
a big mead person, so.
We use ours. Chris Smith just said, what did you say about the mead? We're going to be pillaging?
Yeah, absolutely.
He said we're going to get in longboats and we're going to attack the North Islands. And Canada's got some explaining to do.
We're coming
Bass
for
Island.
you.
Middle Bass Island.
Yeah.
Your number's up. Once we get the longboats all set up, we're going Viking on your ass.
Yeah.
Valhalla. All right. That is so tasty. Major shout out to our friend Jonathan Sawyer from many Cleveland restaurants, but most notably Greenhouse and Noodle Cat. He was very nice to bring us a bottle of Weller Antique 107. This is on my list of shit I can't afford to drink.
Giddy up, son.
So, giddy up, son.
Fancy pantsy.
It is fancy pantsy. So later on, we'll be cracking into the Weller.
That's tremendously generous.
It is
Goodness
tremendous.
gracious.
I mean, and he came in, he said, that, this is for your team. He listens to our podcast and said he wanted to support us. And
wow.
It's extremely generous.
Crack into it right
super.
now for me.
Yes. Get him. Get
I'm
fire that
going
up.
to throw this out there right
Yeah.
now. I'm willing to live a little dangerously.
I'm drinking mine neat. Yeah.
Because this is my birthday weekend.
It is your birthday weekend.
Congratulations.
So I can always just claim my birthday.
And what are we doing for your birthday weekend, John?
Well, not this weekend, but next weekend. For my birthday,
Yes.
I will be getting on a flight to the Socialist Republic of Portland.
Oh, shit. You're really going?
We're really going.
It's real.
I thought you were going to the Wuhan province.
No, but we are going to watch out for the Kung Flu.
We're going to be a lot closer. Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really fun trip.
Yeah. So we're going to the One Show. And for all you guys who listen, there's going to be a lot of guys from a lot of different podcasts up at the One Show. And couldn't be happier about it. We got everything booked. We got hotel accommodations, got a rental car. We're set. We're ready to rock and roll.
By the way, that's Rand's term, Socialist Republic of Portland.
Right, exactly. And we have an update from Rand. I know all of our podcast listeners who've been kind of following. Rand has achieved official Cleveland Moto status. I got another message.
He's running the satellite office for us.
He is running. Yeah, he's keeping Oregon ready for Cleveland Moto.
He's prolific.
He is prolific. The dude is, and he's just a good guy. You can tell that when a guy gets super loaded and then just immediately, and there's nothing evil about his posts. There's nothing mean about his posts. He's just loaded up and ready for fun. So we'll read you one of Rand's posts here later on.
It's all about content. You got to have a lot of content. He's got good content.
He's got a lot of content.
Is it going to be the Rand segment then?
It could. We could have an ongoing. We'll see if he provides continuous content. Yeah. So if he provides continuous content, we will provide continuous updates from Rand, our man in Oregon.
If he continues drinking, then yeah.
Yeah,
this is delicious.
Yeah, hey, Oscar, can you pass me the Weller, please?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I made sure to leave myself a neat glass so I could really get the full experience, and I'm very very excited about this.
So that was mead. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the mead that Daniel brought. So your friend made this, and what I really like about it is it's actually a mead that you can taste some of the honey. That was always one of my disappointments with mead. I'm expecting it's made of honey. It's got to be sweet, delicious. Yep. And then you drink it, and you're like, where was the honey? But that one, the honey shines through. And as you said, that's a clover honey or
wildflower honey.
Wildflower honey. You can actually taste a little bit of the original wildflower honey coming through.
I'm not good enough to drink this. I'm going to stand it. I'm just going to make a statement right now. I drink a fair amount of bourbon. I usually don't drink grape bourbon. I drink serviceable bourbon. This is really, really tasty.
It's beyond your station.
It is well beyond my station. Yeah.
I think we should savor it and have one, just limit it to one shot.
Limit it to one because
we're
going to save that one and make that. We're going to put legs under that.
This is like when you have a dinner party or whatever, people over, and you have 4 bottles of wine, and the first one's like a nice bottle, and after that it's just whatever.
Yeah. It really is.
So where
delicious.
is this compared to Stranahan's?
Well, it's pretty high above Stranahan's right now. This is, not to get into the value of things, other than the value of things. The value of things, first of all, is that John Sawyer was nice enough to give us this bottle.
And thank you so much.
So thank you, John Sawyer. And he's a guy that he's been into scooters. He's got a Moto Guzzi, and he does walk the walk. If you're downtown, if you're just cruising downtown Cleveland, if you're just hanging out, you will see Jonathan Sawyer ripping downtown on his Vespa at light speed +2. He runs between his restaurants, and he uses the Vespa to jump restaurant to restaurant to restaurant to restaurant to check on his domain, like to check on his stuff.
Hey, what's going on here?
What's going on here, right? And he's a fun guy, too. Like, he's a very, very exciting and very interesting guy. He blends wines for other restaurants in the basement of his house, and he really gets into that idea of getting your hands involved and making cool shit. So Jonathan Sawyer's always been a friend of the shop. He's always been a super, super nice guy. Everything he's done with the greenhouse. Our friend Pasta Gary Thomas, who makes Ohio City pasta, introduced me to Jonathan Sawyer years ago. And it was one of these like bro deals. It was like, hey, I think you're going to like this guy. And we went in and we met him, and we had a great time just hanging out in his restaurant. And he's a guy that could show off. He could be a showy asshole if he wanted to, because he's got all the cool shit and he's got the cool restaurants and his kids are awesome and his wife's awesome. He's living that perfect life. And I mean, he was on, all the TV shows. The man's just got it. But he also made French fries called, Sawyer Sweet Frites that are at the Cleveland Brown Stadium. Mm. So you can go in there and you can get a really cool food item at the stadium.
Are those the duck fat ones?
Yeah.
Fried in duck fat?
Yeah.
If you know your audience.
As a man who digs on swine.
Yeah, he does sausage and peppers
He does
too.
things with a pig that are just fantastic. Yeah. And
and he introduced me to the lady butchers too.
His pig face is legendary.
Yeah.
And I've never eaten the pig face yet, but I hope to before I die.
I took the missus. We're both vegetarian, and we go.
Get the fuck out of here.
We go there because they have this. He also does great vegan and vegetarian dishes, etc. Right? And me, I don't give a shit. It's just for my heart. But anyway, so we sit down and we're sitting there enjoying our thing. And 2 seconds later, this big pig face comes to the person next to us, and this dude's just carving in there. My wife's just looking at me like, "This is fucking not good. What are we doing here?" Dude's like digging in the eyeball,
I've been there.
The cheeks I've heard are delicious.
I've done one in there. It is something that, as a top level predator that I am, I felt it was my job. I'm an apex predator, and
you're sucking the snout.
I was just. But here's the weird thing is,
can we stuff the snout with sausage so I can suck it out of the tubes?
A lot of times people do stuff because of what? Because it's graphic or it's weird or it's insane. The chilled monkey brains or whatever the hell it is.
You ate those like rubber little crabs on top of that poutine.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
When was that?
Yeah.
Where was I?
I've been.
The place in Cleveland on.
Oh, down at the Banter?
The Banter. I love Banter.
Yeah, I love
Banter's
Banter.
another
little,
one.
They look like a little rubber.
Yeah, they do. They're delicious, though, man.
Little soft shells?
Yeah, little soft shells, little baby soft shells. Banter does Adam just does a great job with Banter. That's another Cleveland restaurant that you should go to. When people go, oh, well, have you ever had poutine? Like, oh, yeah, I've been to Tim Hortons or whatever. I've had poutine. Go to Banter. Go to Banter.
I had poutine when I was like 15.
Right.
Her name. Oh wait.
No.
Now that you mentioned the eyeballs,
You could go to jail for that.
Everything on the piggy's head, by the way,
don't think
everything
so.
on
No,
the
you're 15
everything on
too.
the animal's head did actually taste fantastic.
Yeah, I mean,
and
even-
that's the weird thing is it wasn't just a spectacle. The stuff was good.
I used to work in Tecate, and actually, it was the thing. There's eyeball tacos in Mexico.
really?
I mean, you can't find them everywhere, but
keep an eye out for 'em.
Yeah, puns.
Hey.
Got them.
This is very early in the show.
Yeah.
It is hard to start out with the best drink of the night, though.
Yeah,
and
it
then
is.
work your
Yeah,
way
that's-
down.
I don't give a shit. That shit's delicious.
No,
And
that
again,
is something that I
Still
will
come back to it
definitely
again.
buy.
It's still good.
Your eyeball taco.
Am I going to get some
Yeah.
table service here? I mean, like, is somebody going to set me up
Oh,
or
hell
something
no.
like that?
Oh, yeah. Because you want to see
Can I
you go.
evoke
We want to see
birthday?
you.
No, it's
I'd like a
almost as
glass
good
with
as
some
straw.
ice.
Yeah.
it's almost as good as straw. Do you know the strange thing is I can
There you
drink
go,
that
Steve.
and I don't actually hear parts
Cringe.
of my body dying
Want ice?
as I'm doing it?
Yes.
Watch the
Yeah.
camera.
I would like
Right.
my
Yeah.
Wellers
Be careful of the
on the
camera.
rocks, please.
Wellers with just one rock.
That's
That's
fine.
all you need. That's all you need. This has got
I know
such a
I
good.
swore off whiskey and bourbon and everything
Yeah.
this year, but that looks like it's worth reaching for.
And this is one of those ones where normally my go-to would be just one ice cube, but I've kind of learned my rule is the better I think it's going to be, the less I add to it,
Good.
and then I
That's
add
good.
to it to make it better. So if I drink it and it's blowing my doors off the way it is, no water, no ice.
Yep.
It's just fine. And I know that I'm probably telling people something they've known since they were 4, but depending on what state you're from. But
or how early
Why are
you
you
start
looking at
drinking.
me?
Right. Again, why do I always look at Oscar when I say
I
that?
know.
I just assume that where you come
You're
from.
the foreigner, yeah.
Right, exactly.
What do you mean, you
Elementary
people?
school, where you people come from. Yeah.
Just a splash.
I just assume at elementary school, they just open up the taps of tequila.
Yeah, just chug it. Yeah,
And everything just smells like
During
almond,
recess.
it's all breakfast. Yeah, it's all
That's good.
breakfast.
That's
It's all
good.
Welcome to fourth grade.
almond and tequila vanilla, and it's just amazing. Yeah.
Sorry, but I'm gonna have some more.
Yeah, go for it.
Steve, you have as
You
much
do
of that
you.
as you want.
Drink this whole bottle.
Right. You can't. You
Well,
can
it
do
looks
no
like
wrong
you're well
here.
on your way. It's already.
There you go, buddy. It's a label.
Looking at
That's
the
it.
halfway mark already.
So I heard recently that a traveler from Wuhan, China, went to West Virginia to go hiking, and he got bit by a tick, and now he's got corona with Lyme.
So, to my left
Too soon.
Chris Smith.
and to his left,
Kropke.
and to his left,
Johnny Mac.
and
Steve Hofford.
the grumpy old sewer guy.
I'm not
Peggy.
grumpy.
Okay, so when I showed Peggy
Fuck
the
you, I'm
YouTube
not
video,
grumpy.
she's like, "Where's the guy who always wears shorts?"
Right.
And I'm like, "Wait, fast forward the video."
Right.
You'll
And
find
there
him.
he is. Oh, there he is.
Oh, perfect. And to his left?
Oscar, and I'm gonna stop a little bit.
Okay.
So finally, I got the Christmas presents for you guys. Oh, but I don't have kids like Sleepy to actually wrap stuff up.
Okay,
so
right.
I
Yeah,
brought you
you're
guys
a bachelor.
Yeah.
the
And by the way, ladies, Oscar is single.
Engaged
I'd hit
safety squints.
Yes.
Oh yeah. The catapult for all you guys.
Oh, here, I'm
my
going to pass them
God.
down.
There you go, pass them down.
Get that way. Keep them going.
This
keep
is
going.
fantastic.
Engage your safety
Yeah,
squints.
engage your safety squints, people.
Oh my
This,
goodness.
so yeah, this is just the coolest thing. Yeah, get one. So our obviously the Retina Remover 9000.
9000,
Yeah, the
yeah.
Retina Remover 9000. Again, this is a guy that we always talk about, like minds, right?
Yep.
And
Do not eat.
every single
That's the safety feature from it.
it is
right?
a safety feature.
Do not
every
eat.
single person that I have ever turned on to AVE has been like, holy shit,
He's
my
legit.
life has changed. And again, you'll know him when you see him.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you won't. No,
you never
won't.
see him.
You'll never see him. But Arduino versus Evil, AVE, if you listen to our podcast, you know
Go check him out on
about him.
YouTube.
You know what he is. Check him out on the YouTubes.
Mucho
A lot of the
scoop 'em.
stuff that you hear come out of my mouth got there because of watching too many hours of his channel.
Yep.
So any BC colloquialisms you might hear coming out of my face hole, if any of us say something skookum as frig, we know where that came from. So yeah, he's that guy. And God, thank you so
There you
much,
go, guys.
dude. Yeah,
Thank
very,
you.
very
It was a
Thank
little
you.
late, but
Thank you.
worth
Yes,
the
we
wait.
can all build our own
I wish
catapults.
young Nick were here. This would be
Well, I got
right
them
up
for him
his,
as well.
Yeah, he's got-
in his wheelhouse.
Had he
Yep.
showed up, he would have
Yep.
gotten one.
Fuck you, Nick.
Fuck you, Nick. So yeah, so we now have our
Where's
own.
Nick?
We now have our own catapults.
Akron?
young Nick and young Cameron, our two millennials, are no show tonight
Wait,
for some
so
reason.
I don't even know what I'm beholding here.
So what you do is you take this apart.
Okay, I see it's
And-
perforated.
yes,
It looks
yes.
like it wants to break apart.
It
really
is
bad.
perforated.
So this part is the base, and you have your catapult and your little lock-in. So you just kind of
Oscar will build one while we're doing the podcast, I'm sure, and then you just flick it.
Okay.
and you
I'll bring
shoot
it-
You're going to lose an
build
eye.
one. Yep.
exactly. Yep.
That's why you have to use your
Okay,
safety
so
squints.
you know, in the
just
same
case.
spirit, we're going to have podcast versus bottle cap.
There
We
we
have
go.
battle cap
Yeah.
shooters. Right?
That's for next
Oh
podcast.
man, the so
Wait, nobody got me a trebuchet?
no.
That's,
You know
that's
what?
for next year. I have one actually.
There's a little more assembly required on the
Yes,
trebuchet.
it
Yeah,
does. Yep.
that's it.
Those are pretty good.
We are truly we
But you're
are
fucking nerds.
we are way over equipped children. We are
See,
all children.
Nerds would be like a good thing. We're
So we've had a
Nerdish.
couple of podcast listeners ask us just if we could, because we forget. We've been doing this since 2011. Okay? It's kind of a long time. We've been doing a silly thing for a long, long time. And we just see each other every Friday, and we just assume that we know who we are. Hell, I can avoid you guys at the store. If I see you coming, I know to get in the other aisle.
Turn the other way.
Guess I
Phil, I got money
guess
this
I
time.
don't need cat food. Yeah, the cats can eat tuna. So just so for a quick go round. So the basics of who you are and maybe
Yeah, good point.
what you do, when you're not here, kind of thing. and kind of what your motorcycle thing is. So I'm just going to start real basic. So yeah, for you guys that weren't paying attention earlier, my name is Phil Waters, and I was born in 1969, a small black child. And no, I wasn't. But I'm a suburban kid that...
Make it short and to this point.
Exactly. I was a suburban kid that was fascinated with motorcycles because of Evel Knievel. And Evel Knievel got me into motorcycles. I think he single-handedly got me into motorcycles. And I loved motorcycles in any way, shape, and form, and would work and build and steal and corrupt other vehicles to make them into vehicles. Like, we were taking anything that had piston power and making it run. Pretty cool. Having a good time in the suburbs. And then when I became a young man and I joined the military, I went over and found that Germany had all kinds of cooler shit. And I got to have scooters and motorcycles and cool cars in Germany on a private or a specialist salary, which is about $900 a month. But when Army's paying for your food and your medical care and the roof over your head, that's $900 of disposable income every single fucking month. Woohoo! And you get like 30 days paid leave.
You're not going to force feed me
I was
Wellers.
going everywhere.
That's not how this is going to work.
How that turned up back here is I got sick. I used to be a police officer, and I didn't like that job. And being a police officer didn't work out for me. But I always wanted to have my own motorcycle shop, always. And so about 20 years ago, we started, and we had this idea where I went from hanging stupid AV equipment from the ceiling in a job, doing audio video installation, to my wife that after I worked really hard to help her get through college, and she was on her career path, she let me take a year off to develop a motorcycle shop. And it was an experiment. And we said, okay, we're going to take some time off. We're going to do this.
Dr. Waters.
Yes.
God love Dr. Waters, right?
What year was that? Was on 25th, right?
We started
I
on West
to refer to her
122nd
as St. Waters.
St. Waters. St. Merritt,
Yeah, St. Merritt.
So did it start as like
St.
PFC then?
So we started as Pride of Cleveland Scooters. Right. And Pride of Cleveland Scooters was in a little corner church, a corner bodega, a little, iglesia, man. Like we were a little tiny corner church that was 700 square feet that I got on the corner of 122nd and Lorraine. Okay. Across from Mi Pueblo Taco Shop.
Great tacos.
Great tacos.
But what year was that? That had to be before 2000.
Was literally 2000.
Was it really?
So that was 2000.
Okay.
That was circa before I ever heard of Phil.
So when we did that and we got this idea going, my buddy Sam Locke and I in Cleveland Heights, but years before that, had Vespas, and we were running around with Vespas and Lambrettas, and we were fixing them for people and building them up. And we had this little side business going of working on scooters for folks. And there were no dealerships. That wasn't there. People would chase us down in the street and be like, Vespa, and run after us.
Well, they were rare. They were
super rare.
Right.
Crazy rare.
You did Mike Philly stuff,
I
right?
did, yeah. Right. Yeah. So we did.
Oscar and I were talking about trying to turn out some young kids.
Yeah.
And Mike Philly will still to this day tell you how I ripped him off.
Oh, really?
Because Mike Philly showed up at my shop. He had a couple of different bikes over the years, and he's a local Cleveland DJ. And at one point, he showed up when our shop was on West 25th Street. He showed up very much unannounced with 30 to 50% of a Vespa in the back of his car.
Yep. No, I remember.
Okay? 30 to 50% of a Vespa. And he just unloaded it. And he made a hasty arrangement with a mechanic I had working there at the time who had a tendency to have parts fall off of bikes and fall onto other bikes that maybe we didn't own. And
it happens.
Not great business. And a lot of backdoor work going on that I didn't know about, which for the record, if anybody at any motorcycle shop ever offers to do backdoor work for you, you're going to have a bad time.
Oh.
You're going to have a bad time. If you're going to like, wow, I don't want to spend $90 an hour for my labor. But the mechanic says he'll do it out of his own garage for $25 an hour.
I can say that one of my biggest regrets in life is not backdooring you.
I can picture that guy.
As you say, wastewater sounds legit.
Sounds legit. And every time that's happened, so every time in my career that we've had a mechanic backdoor somebody, that's always ended up with a problem. Is like the guy comes into my shop 7 months later, a year and a half later. Hey, dude, where's my bike? Where's my bike?
So I got a problem with this Weller.
Yeah. It's delicious.
It doesn't make me go.
No, there's nothing.
There's no shutters.
Chris Smith says it's declawed. That's my term I use for everything.
You want the real Johnny Mac?
That shit is too.
Come on, buddy. Come on, Johnny Mac.
If you want to put it away, that's fine. We can put it away.
Now you're making it uncomfortable.
No touching.
So we kind of did this we kind of have had this thing with our scooter shop,
Yep.
where our scooter shop was always the business, but the vintage motorcycles was always what we were doing in the back at after hours, was building cafe racers and cool old bikes. And at some point, we realized that there was something happening in America where cafe racers and cool old bikes were becoming popular. And then we had a come to Jesus moment where somebody told me, nobody will buy a motorcycle at a scooter shop, but they will buy a scooter at a motorcycle shop. And that's true.
Yep.
Because a lot of straight cis men will not enter a motor scooter shop unless it's to buy something for their wife, right? Whereas, and we grew up with that. We kind of learned about that. We knew about it.
I cherish that because that makes scooters special for the people that are not morons.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, right.
So are they cis men or are they homophobes?
Well, they're homophobes, right? Yeah. And a lot of it is being homophobic. And it was kind of funny when we made the decision to leave downtown Cleveland, our second shop. When we decided to do that, we went to Lakewood because Lakewood was scooter friendly.
Yep.
And when we went to Lakewood, the city of Lakewood was like, Jesus Christ, it's about time you guys woke up and moved your fucking shop here.
So Steve's trying to turn me into a foie gras goose with all this Braunschweiger. I feel like somebody's like stuck.
You got a funnel?
Excuse me. Oh,
Chris.
Chris.
We'll
I'm
get
trying
Chris
to get
next.
you fucked up on this bourbon because I like the way the fucked up Johnny.
You like
Mac.
the unleashed Johnny Mac.
He wants to backdoor a Mac later on.
He does. We're gonna get a backdoor deal on Johnny Mac.
I'm being Braunschweiger.
Get a traditional out behind the building, an old fashioned. So doing that, changing what we did from a scooter shop to a motorcycle shop, but we're a motorcycle shop with strong scooter tendencies, and still are to this day. Okay. So we do a lot of motorcycles, we do a lot of scooters too, and it was getting into that and discovering that motorcycles and scooters. I know it's hilarious, but it was mods versus rockers, and I realized that I was a mocker, and as a mocker, I just couldn't take myself seriously. I couldn't take anything else seriously. But as I was welcoming interesting motorcycle people, it was like, oh, you don't have to ride a Vespa. You don't have to ride a Lambretta. You can ride whatever the fuck you want to ride as long as we can drink together. And it became a far more interesting crew. We ended up with a lot more interesting people around us.
I'd like to personally take credit for some of that.
Yes, you would.
Not like you didn't deal with motorcycles way before I ever started as a mechanic. But when I came in, I didn't really know a whole lot about scooters at all, really. But I've been working on motorcycles for a long time. Yeah. And you knew I like Hondas and everything. So it was like, well, here you go. Here's your first project.
That's right.
This CB350 with the fucking, So
of course.
We went through that and we did that, and that sold pretty well.
Hell yeah, it did.
Next thing you know, we started flipping, CB750s,
And that's when you could probably still find them on Craigslist.
It was pretty funny.
So for a minute, we turned about half of the shop into a vintage Honda section.
Yeah, we did. We had every year Honda represented from 64 until 81. Mm-hmm. You could, and some days our shop looked like you took a snapshot of a Honda dealership in like 1973.
And you know what else was awesome about it, even back then? Most of the shops you go into, they don't smell like motorcycles. They smell like new things. Your shop smelled like gasoline.
And farts.
Cigarettes.
And cigarettes. Yeah, we smoked a lot of cigarettes. So that's kind of my background. That's where I got to right here. To my left is Chris Smith, who... he was a neighborhood cat for us. So, Chris, tell us the deal.
Well, that's a hell of a lead-in. I don't know I can follow that. So I was born in 1956, so I might be the oldest guy at this table. But I became interested in motorcycles. My father was a World War II vet, and actually after the war went over to North Africa and bought a British Norton, British military surplus Norton, and rode around North Africa and up through Palestine and made his way up into Strasbourg, France, where he met my mom, and they got married. And I had an old photo of my dad on this Norton. So as a young kid, I was always interested in riding a motorcycle, but my mom wouldn't let us get anything. So once I got out of college, I worked at General Motors Corporation for a couple years back in 78 to 80. And they had lost about $500 million for 3 quarters in a row, so they looked around and see who they could.
Chris Smith.
Yeah, they said, get his ass out of here. So
you lost $500 million for
personally.
Yeah, and I'm not telling you where it's buried either. But so I go over to the unemployment office, and the gal says, "You work for General Motors. You're eligible for trade or TRA money." I said, "What the hell is that?" So that's the Trade Readjustment Act. That's 1980. And so back in 78, 77, whatever, the Japanese cars would come in, they'd put a tax on them. And that tax was put toward a pool of money to support out-of-work U.S. auto workers. And so you're eligible for this TRA money. I said, well, geez, I worked in an office. I wasn't a factory guy. I said, you work for GM, you get the money. So I got $2,000, and this is back in 1980. So I immediately took my American auto company money and went out and bought a Japanese motorcycle.
As one does. Why not?
and yeah. So truth be told, I bought it just down the road here on Lorraine Road in Cleveland, a place called Ohio Suzuki. And I went in and I bought a 1981 Suzuki GS 450E. Which I still own.
That's one of the ways that you came into our lives.
With that
bike is, I think, that was the stepping stone. That bike had gone to someplace else, been torn all to fuck.
Yeah.
I remember going over to help reclaim it.
Yeah.
Had a repo
in boxes.
Yeah.
And bring it back to where it would eventually find its way together.
Wow.
Through a series of the shop and Dustin and handoffs and shakeoffs and everything. Again, you're riding it today, so it happened.
Yeah. So that bike. Then I got married, and when I bought it, it was my only mode of transportation here in Greater Cleveland, Ohio, and I was going to graduate school down in Cleveland State. So I was riding the motorcycle down I-90 in the snow and stuff like that. That's why I had a rusted out front fender from the salt and stuff like that. However, I got married, had kids. I didn't ride it for the longest time, so
disrepair.
Yeah, and it ran when parked, but that was 20 years ago. So anyhow, I found a guy. He agreed to take it, and I gave him a lot of money to get it going, and he used the money to buy his drum kit and things like that. So while I was waiting for that to get done, I lived not too far away from POC on Sloan in Detroit, so I tootled my toes in there and just drooled all over everything. And finally I said, fuck, I got to buy something, goddammit. This guy's taking too long. So that's when I bought the 73, the 73 450. Yeah, I bought that.
Yep.
And then Phil had he was an Enfield dealer, and he had the military green Enfield in the corner, and I just fell in love because that reminded me of the bike that my dad had.
And that's what he said when he came in.
Yeah.
That was the first thing. He's like, this bike looks just like the military surplus bike his father had.
Yeah.
And Chris was like hook in the mouth.
There was
no.
Was it a C5?
It was a C5.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a tear in my
C5 military.
eye seeing it.
Oh yeah, it was hilarious. I mean, you were in.
And Phil only had one. I said, well, I'll buy that. He says, no, I already committed it to somebody.
Right. I sold to somebody else.
I said, I'll give you extra money. Give me that one. He says, no.
Right.
So
I can't. I mean,
and kudos to you.
Right.
So
a promise is a promise.
I said, well, get another one of these days. And so a couple months later, you got another one. So
Finally
I bought
got
that.
another one. Yeah.
And I just kept buying bikes from Phil. Yeah. And then finally, as Johnny Mack said, I finally said, what the fuck's going on with my bike? And I'd given this guy so much money, and nothing was put together and still in a wreck. And then so I was talking to you. And
it was well taken apart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
And so the guy says, I said, well, I'm going to come get it. And he said, well, you owe me $4,500. And I said, no fucking way. And so I said, I'll give you $2,000.
Go fuck your hat.
Right.
Well,
exactly.
You should have given him nothing for what he did.
Well, here's what I did. I put on my credit card. As soon as I got the stuff, I reversed the charges.
Right.
So
that's all you can do.
Shishing.
Yeah.
Which is what you should have done, because the guy just was a ripoff.
Yeah.
So, long story short, let's make it long. What the heck?
Then we stared at the bike. We stared at the bike for
I love it.
For 2 years of podcasts, we stared at the bike.
Yeah, we did. For 2 years of podcast, we did stare at the bike.
At Dustin's.
At Dustin's house. Yeah.
There wasn't enough time to do it over at your place.
That's right.
Dustin was going to do it, and it sat at Dustin's for a long time.
It was right next to the workbench, right there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a long road to redemption.
It is.
So that bike ended up needing another bike.
It did end up needing another bike. So we bought a whole other bike.
Because
another parts bike from you I got.
Amongst just tearing your bike apart and leaving it in boxes, they started using some of those parts for other bikes.
Yeah, they did.
And so not all of your bike came home from its trip to an unnamed other shop.
A local shop that shall remain unnamed.
Yeah, including the carbs.
And
the carbs are gone.
It's symmetrical. It needed asymmetrical.
It did.
They wanted to charge you
service done to it, and that worked out to be best.
To take the carbs off and sell them to somebody
in Dustin's garage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's actually a fucking miracle that bike ever made it.
It is a miracle that bike ever made it back onto the road. It really is.
I know we said we weren't going to say fuck so much, but
but it's only. I think it's only because.
Fuck you.
I think it's only because Chris had his fucking heart and soul in that bike, man. And so every time when we at the shop,
and you weren't a big fan of that bike.
No. Okay, so just so the world knows, I have a little bit of baggage with this. When my wife. My first wife, my training wife. When I married her in 1989, we came back to America. You know, we liked scooters and stuff in our world. And so when we got back to America, my training wife was a German national. I married her when I was stationed in Germany. And when we got back to America, I said, well, sweetie, don't you want to have a scooter, you know, now that we're back? And, you know, you could have any scooter you want now. You're an adult. We're in America. Wouldn't it be cool for you to have a scooter? And so, yeah, I got her scooter, and she was like, I got a white P200. I mean, it's a P200, solid bike. Yeah. And I got her a white P200, and she was always like, now I'm in America, I want a motorbike. And I went, oh, okay. Well, this could be interesting, because at the time I had a bunch of motorbikes. And I was like, all right, let's see where this goes. What do you want? What do you like? What's your favorite? Because I'm surrounded by all the right people. We can find anything you want. She picked out this Buck Rogers looking piece of shit with like, I don't know, there's unnecessary louvers on the plastic side panels. It's just the weirdest. It's an exercise in squares. I don't know how the bike ended up with round wheels.
Are those cushions on the side?
It was, it's like,
looked funky.
But this bike was one of these things, dual overhead cam 450, but she really loved it. And so I held my nose and I bought it for her. We found a perfect example of one. And it was in the same silver color that Chris's is, right? The Tweaky. I call it the Buck Rogers Tweaky Special.
Beady.
Look out, Buck. But yeah, beady. This thing,
you are a nerd.
I couldn't get the dog to play with it, man. Like, this thing was not a very traditionally classic styled motorcycle. It looked like 1981. And so, but a couple of times I had to ride it. 6-speed transmission, gear indicator, had no problem going 100 miles an hour on a 450cc engine. So I begrudgingly had to admit that it was a really good motorcycle. And then when he showed up and said, yeah, I want you to do a nut and bolt perfect restoration on an 81 GS 450E, I was like, dude, you need to find somebody else. And Dustin was like, I'll do it. Dustin was just straight up, I'll do it.
At one point in my career, I did a carb rebuild on one and never even saw the bike. Mm-hmm. Didn't even know what it looked like.
Didn't have any idea what the carb
I worked
came
with said, I have one of these Suzuki 450s. I'm like, I have never heard of that.
Right.
But if you rip the carbs off and give them to me, I'll clean them and you can stick them back on.
Yeah.
And I did. And he put them back on. And he's like, it fucking runs great. Yeah. Thank you, man. That's cool.
That's cool.
I never saw the bike. Didn't know what it was until I saw Chris's.
Well, you saw pieces of Chris's.
I saw the carbs out of one, which I never saw those on Chris's.
Well, I didn't have the carbs.
Because we had to buy a whole other bike to get all the parts we needed for Chris's bike.
Yeah.
And you still ride this bike, right?
I do.
That's the
I do.
silver.
Yeah.
He had it at the show. He just had it at the IMS show.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And when I was out at the IMS show, I was surprised the number of people had stopped and looked at it and actually smiled. A couple people took photos.
They loved the bike.
One guy laid his dick on the seat and stuff like that.
I'm sorry about that. I just had to do it.
Oh, sleepy.
You know, that is one of the bikes you're not going to get that. I had one of those when I was young because they're not a lot of people had those.
And it's funny because if you do the bike by the numbers, the bike by the numbers is an amazing bike. Under 400 pounds, easy 100 mile per hour top speed, 38 horsepower. I mean, it does read like any modern 450. It reads like any modern 450 you could ever imagine.
It's Suzuki's version answer to the KZ 440.
I think you're right. And also the Nighthawk and the whole
Luckily,
thing.
Suzuki still makes it.
Yeah, they do. I don't think they've ever stopped.
Never changed.
And they were. It does look that Chris did spend his money wisely because they were $17.98 brand new in 1981.
Well, I got a windshield, so that was extra, and then I bought a full face helmet. So I blew the whole $2,000. Jeez. And that guy was so happy.
I'm sure it was thrilled.
Yeah, the salesman. I said, I'll take a windshield and I'll take a helmet.
Yeah, I'll take a helmet.
And now it's a
and I bought an Arai helmet.
Oh, very
my
nice.
God.
Yeah.
And back then, that was
he was shitting his pants.
Yeah, he was.
Says, Send in the rest of your family.
Yeah. Those were handmade back then. I think
I don't
they
know.
were pretty fancy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So when you got that C5, you got that military C5.
Yeah.
You were riding that thing everywhere. I mean,
I was.
you were straight up.
Steve.
Now, because you ran medical centers, right? You ran
Correct, yeah.
urgent cares, right?
Yeah.
So how many urgent cares did you have going at one time?
We had 2 urgent cares
That's
and one
sipping booze.
internal medicine practice, so a total of 3.
Wow.
Around to 3.
And so you were busting around to all those, right?
Yeah.
So you handle, you run those medical centers, right?
I do the embezzlement only.
Okay.
I
Excellent.
don't see patients.
You're where the rubber meets the road.
That's
it.
Yeah, and then the rubber did meet the road when I was riding it one February.
You're doing collections now. That's where the rubber meets the asshole.
Yeah.
And I was that asshole.
You tried to do a little winter riding.
I did. And it was after being over at Taco Tanto's in Lakewood for a 6-shot tequila tasting in about an hour and a half.
Ooh.
They do have a good, I must say that Taco Tano's has an excellent selection of tequila.
Wow, that's a tongue
And
twister.
we tried to taste most of them.
Yeah.
And so then I was home, and it looked like a sunny day, mid-February, and I should just take that bike out for a ride.
I gotta go ride the bike.
And one of my kids says, "Dad, you're not allowed to take that out." I said, "I'll be fine."
Oh, wait, sunny day in February?
Yeah.
Well, occasionally
It
we get a
happens.
sunny
I
day.
mean, I saw the sun today.
Right.
In
Yeah,
January.
That's true.
It's like a sunny day in Portland.
We've had we've had that anomalous sunny day.
you're right.
But what happened on your anomalous sunny day was?
Well, I went whistling right past the Rocky River Police Department on my 450.
Hilliard?
On Hilliard, absolutely. And I decided to make a U-turn down at Cottonwood and hit some black ice, slipped out, whacked my helmet on the ground, knocked myself cold.
Yeah.
Until the Rocky River EMS showed up and said, we're taking you in.
They pronounced you.
Yeah.
They pronounced you unconscious.
Yeah.
You're a
And
nerd.
apparently you're too fun for this motorcycle.
Yeah. Or what was left of it.
Right. Yeah.
So,
So, the Enfield took a little trip down the pavement.
It did. And
The Enfield took a little
Luckily,
bit of
it
a
was
slide.
the Enfield and
Shiny
not the
side down.
Suzuki.
Although
It
no
was.
shiny sides on that.
No, it was all flat. There was no shiny side
Flat
on that
side
thing.
down.
Yeah. So it took a slide.
So then I got my payout on that, and we'll skip the internal part there. I got
Let me just say, you settled things up with the state.
I did. Yeah. State and the city.
After I settled things up with the state and the city.
Yeah. I took the settlement money on the Enfield, and I bought a Moto Guzzi V7.
I got a V7. Yeah, I got a V7. And got a little bit more power than the 500.
Yeah.
Which, that's... But no, still no snow tires.
I would like to put forth a motion at
Yes.
some point. Some of the podcasts, we used to smoke during them.
Right.
And we're drinking a rather good, this is a scotch? Or what we
It's a bourbon.
Bourbon.
Yeah, we're drinking a bourbon. Yeah.
Can we take like a...
Do you need a cigarette break?
Do you wanna-
Well, I'm
break?
just saying like an intermission at like halfway point maybe.
We'll see what happens.
Maybe we'll pause
We
the
might
tape.
work our way
We,
towards
we
that.
can mute
I'm
your
on-
mic.
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
We're
that's
saying.
exactly it.
And I'm also done hearing about Chris. I want to hear about that.
I know. So now,
There you go.
All right, so I'm cashing out on that one.
And 2 is left.
I will drag something else. I want to know the question that I want to know that I kind of need filled in for Chris is that because what we don't know is that Chris has got a family full of amazing young men. Okay, so so Chris has got some serious, some true gentlemen. What is an interesting thing is that a lot of guys, you don't know that they've got offspring. We know that right here at this table, we've got people that have a lot of kids. Progeny, exactly.
Spawn.
And you've got a couple of boys that I got to say are just fantastic. And they are. and they're legit.
Gentlemen.
They're straight up gentlemen.
Total gentlemen.
And,
Thank you very much.
And
Thank you very much.
that's really
Very
a big
generous.
deal. Is when I first met his.
You'd let them around your daughter, Steve?
I would.
Whoa.
They are.
Although Chris's future son's father-in-law might be a little bit questionable.
And that's just. I mean, that's one of those things that when your boys came into the shop from the very, very beginning, your boys were super. They were interested, but they were polite. And they were super nice and super cool, and they've always just been fantastic. Your kids are those kind of kids where you're just like, holy shit, there's hope. There's actual legit hope. So that's really cool. So what are they up to now?
My oldest Ty is married, and he graduated from Hiram. Was going to go into pre-med, or he was in pre-med, didn't want to go to med school. So he was a chemist in a lab, and he was working at a place called the Charles River Labs, where everybody was 65 and older, and he got tired of that. So he got a job over at a Fatheads Brewing Company as the in-house quality control chemist.
Oh, nice.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Fucking A.
Wait,
that's
you're
awesome.
a chemist, but you're also in beer?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's like living the dream, man.
yeah, he loves it. You know, there's a lot of things that he learned at Charles River, and Fatheads was building their new production brewery, and I'm an old home brewer, and I had known Matt and I had known Andy Tavikram, and Andy was going to hire him down at Market Garden, but didn't have things going at that point. And Matt Cole got a hold of him, and they talked about what Ty knew chemistry wise and running tests and junk like that, whatever he does. And so he really likes it, and for him, you know, he gets to go to work with his hat on backwards. And, you know, his rubber steel toe boots and stuff like that. And, you know, he gets a shifty at the end of the day. And everybody's his age.
Wait. What's a shifty?
It's like a handy, but you twist at the very end.
No, you're shifting like.
You're like, boom.
No, a shifty is a beer at the end of the day. That's
You rev it like a throttle?
It's like old Vespa.
But on top of everything else, he just recently got back. So Matt Cole goes over to Germany once a year to brew. So he took my son Ty over there with him this year for a week and a half to roll around Munich.
Germans?
It's the
Yeah.
Germans.
Yeah, so he was in Munich, and then he was over in Salzburg,
fantastic.
brewing and learning brewing techniques and harvesting yeast. He's in charge of the yeast, basically.
Right.
So that's what he's doing. My middle son, Tristan. Is in graduate school over at Bowling Green. In his second year studying statistical science, so he's a math major doing stats. And he's the one that's getting married next November to Eva Schneider.
To the other Chris.
Yeah, Chris Schneider's
Germans.
daughter. Yeah, and so he's doing a great job, and he's a real good boy. And then my youngest son Tegan is he's a sophomore in college down at Shawnee State studying plastics engineering.
Yeah, Tegan's a hoot.
And Tegan, I don't know when the last time you saw him, but he grew up to be about 6'4". So he grew about 6 inches, and he put on about 6 ounces. And,
Could sleep on a Venetian blind.
yeah, that's about it.
Plastics engineering sounds interesting to me because I don't know if you know this about me, but I used to work for an injection molding plastics company. And like, you know, when you start digging into that whole realm, it's pretty cool what you can do. What you can squirt out of, you know, hot plastic and squirt. Well, I mean, you're squirting hot plastic into a mold and stamping them out and stuff, and you're making these big erector sets that look like an old school model set, but really it's a multi-cavity mold, which is all the internal plastics of a, you know, John Deere tractor, all the controls, all the little tiny pieces that all pops out in one shot.
One stand.
You know?
That's pretty
Pretty
cool.
interesting. And hot runners and all the stuff that they do to have to make that work in, you know, one shot stuff. So,
Well,
that's
you know,
cool.
interestingly enough, when he was going down to look at Shawnee State, his older brother had just graduated from there in mathematics. So I said, what do you want to study? He said, well, I guess I'll study math like my brother. I said, yeah, it's probably not a good idea. So we talked to the guy who was running the plastics department, and he said, you know, in 2016, we graduated 25 kids out of the plastics engineering department, and within 90 days, 100% of them had jobs or were off to graduate school. And I said, boy, you got my attention there.
Yeah, and those mathematicians are all still unemployed.
One of the things that was happening, they were closing. So the plastics company that I was working for was slowly going out of business. It was only being buoyed by capital investment and yada yada, and we all knew this. But some of the salesmen, what they would do is they would go to the auction when they closed down one of our plants, and they would buy up the presses.
Oh, really?
And they would set up back at their property in a building this press, and they would do this molding. They'd set it up, and like it was their little money cash machine where they set this thing up. They feed it plastic. It sits there and pumps out parts. They ship them out. Yeah. And it's like, you could do that out of your backyard, just making all these parts.
Yeah. It's just shrinky dinks, John.
Mm-hmm.
It's just shrinky dinks. It's all the same thing.
Yep. Dinky shrinks.
So that's fantastic, man.
So those
that's
are 3 boys. Yeah, we got 3 real good boys.
That's great.
Do any of them ride at all?
None of them were allowed to ride, and Phil will verify this because the youngest Tegan, I was going to buy him from Phil. I was going to buy him a moped so he could ride around at age 14 or something like that.
Yeah.
And we had made an agreement.
Yeah.
And
Tegan was really fired up.
And Phil and I said, all right, I'll buy this one. In 2 years, he'd buy it back and all this other kind of stuff. I said, all right, Mrs. Smith, here's what we're going to do.
I was going to give him a long-term lease on my Puch Magnum Mark II.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because I'll never sell it.
Yeah.
But if they've got it, then it's like I know it's in good house.
Yeah.
I know it's in good hands. So
I said, okay,
That's
Mrs.
pretty much
Smith.
the apex predator of mopeds.
it is. It is. Yeah. They don't make a cooler moped. Yeah.
So she shut that shit down in about 10 seconds. She says, no fucking way are my kids getting on there.
It's a bicycle.
I don't want my kids surfing this thing down the sidewalk in February.
That's one of women's flaws. My wife does that all the time. I try so hard, and she just
She
shuts
tries
it.
keeping your kids alive?
Yeah, it's
Fuckers.
horrible.
But she's riding. I mean, what?
Yeah.
Well, no, she lets me
tries to
take
keep
V
your
on the
kids
scooter.
alive. Is that what you said?
Just keep the kids alive. How dare she?
Yeah.
My wife's pretty cool, man.
Lame.
Can't complain about it.
Let's get to Crampy, man.
Yeah.
Dan,
See
let's
what
go.
Dan's up to.
Oh, geez. My
Microphone?
story will be way shorter than Chris's.
It's
That much I
okay.
can promise you.
Yeah, it's okay.
Well, I'm not done yet, so I'll have to.
Hey.
I was born in 1960 in La Crosse, Wisconsin, western Wisconsin, on the Mississippi River. My parents were having no part of letting me have a motorcycle when I was in high school, but they bought me a boat when I was 13, because that's totally safe, right?
As long as you can swim.
That makes sense.
You know, my 3 older brothers, same thing. When they were 13, they got a boat.
Yeah.
I think they saw it as a way to keep me out of
In
trouble.
La Crosse.
Definitely didn't
Yeah.
work because, in high school we would throw huge kegger parties out on the Mississippi River on an island,
my
with
God.
like 17 half barrels of beer.
I'd give anything.
Shout
to
out
know
to
that.
Milwaukee.
Do
There you
that
go.
tomorrow.
That would be awesome. Wait, you know what? We need to salute that.
Salute. Milwaukee.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hell yes, brother.
Clink.
Long range clink. Yeah.
So
I'm
how
toying
did
with
you
the
get?
idea of tracking down a bike like my first bike.
And when your first bike
now
was?
that I heard Chris's story, I'm kind of starting to change my mind.
Well, what was your first bike?
Right.
What was your first bike?
78 Yamaha XS 400.
Oh, yeah. The good news is there was no shortage of those. So that's a bike that's real easy to replace. But finding the exact one, I don't know, man.
Probably not happening.
That's a hell of a reach.
I already owned my CX500 originated in Wisconsin, which I didn't know when I bought it. Found out when I went and got the title down. It came from Richland Center, Wisconsin, interesting, there's still a sticker on the taillight that said Vitesnik Motors.
I love that.
Richland Center, Wisconsin.
I like that, too.
It was a
love that.
Pontiac dealership that also
Been there.
sold
Actually,
Honda
I've
motorcycles.
been there. Yeah, I've been through the center. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you got your very first motorcycle?
20.
20. Yeah, exactly. So that's cool.
And by the time I was 27, I was done riding because I was in a car accident and injured my back. And even a year after the accident, I could not tolerate being on a motorcycle. It was just extremely painful. And
Wow.
I sold that a Suzuki GS 750,
Yeah.
and I sold that thinking, if my back ever gets better enough, I'll buy another motorcycle.
Okay.
We ended up moving to Cleveland, and my wife was terrified
Because
by
of the
way-
weather.
But because the weather's
Because
It's much better over here.
Wisconsin. My wife was terrified of the way people drove here, and she made me promise that I would not buy a motorcycle while I lived in Cleveland.
Okay.
And our intention was to live in Cleveland like 3 years and move on.
What year did you move in?
1987.
So you're going to move in a couple of years later. Yeah.
So, 2010, actually, I just was like, fuck this. I'm buying a motorcycle. I can't wait forever, you know?
We need to change the rules here.
Yeah.
That's it. So in 2010, you bought a bike.
Right,
What bike did you buy in
what was it?
2010?
I bought a 2010 Triumph America.
You got Triumph America, right? That's when you got your
I bought
America.
it actually was used.
Yeah.
Like 3,500 miles.
Oh, yeah. That's the rule with Triumph Americas. You don't ever buy them new.
Oh, right.
You buy them
any bike
used.
for the most part.
Yeah, but I mean, Triumph Americas in particular.
Except for any bike that you sell new. Just buy
Well,
those
yeah,
and-
we'll play that game later. Yeah, but yeah, Triumph Americas are one of those things that everybody I've ever known is like, that's a great motorcycle to buy used. Because it is. In the dealership, they're like, you wouldn't buy that brand new and pay full boat for it. But like a year and a half or 2 years later, you can get the thing for half price.
It's an exceptional value.
It's an exceptional value. That's exactly right. And they're good bikes too. I mean, they'll last forever. They'll run around.
Reliable.
Real
Is that a
good bike.
twin?
Yeah,
I'm
it's the
sorry,
same.
I'm not familiar
So
with
the
that
Triumph
bike,
America is a Bonneville in what I like to jokingly call a Sportster chassis. So it's a Bonneville that's been Americanized.
Tarted up for the American market.
That's exactly right. It's like somebody said,
It's not a standard anymore.
nope,
It's
it's a cruiser.
Okay.
It's a cruiser, swayback horse. And what they generally said, and if you pardon me for being so bold, is Triumph said, what's the slowest bike we have? Okay. What's the one that is the longest? Okay. What has the worst handling? Okay. What has the most unnecessary chrome on it? Okay. What are we going to call it? The America.
It should be the America.
Merca. It should just be Murka. Merca. And that's what it was. And it was designed to get people out of the Harley dealership and into the Triumph dealership. It was to get somebody a low seat height on a parallel twin and go out and ride the bike. But the whole idea of like, oh, it's going to corner or it's going to be a Thruxton or it's going to be... No, Bonneville's come in every flavor. So one of the flavors that you can get a Bonneville in is hot dog and potato chips. Like, it's real. It's a thing.
I still
you can
think
do.
the best flavor is at the W800.
That's the best Bonneville ever, is the Kawasaki W800. Ooh, that hurts. The new Bonnevilles are great. Yeah, so that Triumph America. But when did you get your BMW?
I just bought the BMW like
A couple of years ago, right?
barely a year. No, just over a year ago.
All right.
A year ago this past November.
Yeah. So you went from the Triumph America, and then you got the BMW right after that.
I got.
What
I
was
had
in between there?
The
Yeah, but what kind of
CX500.
BMW? I
Oh,
don't
that's
even know.
right. The CX500.
And before I bought the BMW, I also bought the 64 Bonneville
Okay, yeah, I remember
that
yeah,
I've still never ridden.
Yeah.
You've never ridden? No.
Did you buy wall art?
Yeah, basically. One of my friends in Minnesota has been giving me a hard time about it just relentlessly. He's like, dude, just sell that. Just sell it. Buy
Or
something
hang
you're
it.
going to ride.
Or find a TGI Fridays that needs something to hang
Yeah,
on the
or
wall.
open a bar, and then you
Open
can
a
just
bar.
round
Fix
the
it and
bike.
ride it.
No, but since I bought the R90,
Yeah.
I barely rode the Triumph at
Right.
all last year, the
Yeah.
America. I mean, I rode it like 5 times.
Yeah.
There was a point in my life where I really wanted an English bike.
Yeah.
And thank God that I never got one. Because I'm like, I really, really wanted like a BSA Gold Star
Yeah.
or something, a Bonneville. I really, really wanted one. And then after dealing with Enfields and stuff
Triumph.
and working on some Triumphs and
Yeah.
stuff through the shop, I'm like,
Do you remember when I had that
fucking
BSA
dodged
Royal
a-
Star?
I dodged a bullet
That
hard.
thing.
Well,
Yeah, really?
how did Johnny Mack get into motorcycles?
I don't know if we're done with Daniel yet.
Well, my question I wanted to ask is, Dan, where do you work?
I'm retired.
Yeah.
I was a program analyst for the VA for 33 years.
And that's interesting too. So like you literally spent your entire time working with the VA. And when I found that out about you, I thought that was pretty interesting because as a veteran, I do try to support the VA and I try to, use the VA when possible. If you don't use it, you lose it kind of thing. And I thought that was really cool that you've spent 30 years working with the VA. It's super great. And to to people that need that. It's great to have folks around that do that and continue to work that way.
VA is an interesting place, too. Probably 75% of the people who work for the VA are veterans.
Yep.
Although I'm not.
Right. But we've had a number of friends who worked with the VA and been counselors for the VA and worked among the soldiers there. He got shot right in the face with a cap gun. Dude.
Taken down by my own gun, friendly fire.
Hoisted on your own petard.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like that. Who's that football player that got wasted?
What?
Which
Who's
one?
That football player that was in the army that got wasted by his own guys.
Oh,
I have no idea.
Too many.
Tillman.
Tillman. Matt
Yeah.
Tillman.
Oh yeah. Yeah, too many layers to that cake.
Yeah.
So that's really cool that you did all that time working for the VA. That's and that you're retired, but you're still young enough to have fun.
Yeah.
And so you do. And it's funny because every time Dan shows up, he brings more bottles. Like when you show up and you're carrying your little cooler, we have no idea what's coming out of that cooler. But every time you open the cooler,
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
I'm disappointed when Dan doesn't show up.
Oh yeah. Well, the drinking's going to be very pedestrian. We'll have
What's
to
going to be
resort
PBR today?
Yeah, we're going to have to resort to the bottom shelf of the fridge.
This is eventually going to get to the point where I
prefer to
can't
say
outdo
that-
myself anymore.
I'm excited when he does show up.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah, we do.
He brought us Stro, and that was a mistake.
But you still drank it.
What I can say though is that everybody
It was a
who comes
mistake
here,
for who?
We
every
don't
person
need any
that's
more
in this
straw.
podcast brings something amazing to this podcast.
I agree. Yeah, I'm very
I
happy.
think everybody, there isn't one person here that does not bring something amazing to this podcast.
I feel like,
Except for fucking Chris Smith.
you know, if I didn't know it better, I would think like this was our last podcast. Where
Right.
this is like the closing sequence.
I'm kind of
Well,
Like we're
crying,
going
man.
off air here.
Hold on,
This is-
John. We'll get to that later.
Oh no.
Oh no.
No.
So, John,
Now that you mentioned that,
now that you mention it,
I need more whiskey. Or bourbon.
Yeah.
No, give me the good stuff. Don't give me that
No,
shit
no,
that
no,
you just
you're gonna
poured.
try this
No,
one.
no.
Fuck you.
No, wait, I'm drinking.
all right. give me
okay.
this.
Now this is what we talked about with the brown liquor. So now we're seeing brown liquor having its effect on Mr. Hofford.
I'm still holding my brakes.
So it's kinda-
on, man. I'm
Exactly.
pumping the brakes.
John's pumped the brakes a while
Pump the
ago.
brakes.
Everything that's brown.
This stuff's good.
Oh, I know you want me to
Take
go
it
all
down by 30%.
I want you to go
What do you have
all in,
against
buddy.
brown?
All in.
in. Yeah. I know your games.
Yeah, Steve. You know what? There are two major enablers at this table, for the record.
me a little
Steve
bit.
Hofford and Chris Smith. Chris Smith
Yes.
and Steve Hofford are both people who are like,
I'm getting
Wait,
pumped up.
hold
on,
on.
wait.
How can you have less than 3 glasses going?
I'm getting
That
pumped
needs
up
a
on
little more.
Braunschweiger and whiskey.
Right. Here, have another crack with Brunschweiger. I've never had anybody look out for me the way Chris Smith does. He's always like, oh, yeah, you know what would go good with your attitude right now? A little more Brunschweiger.
More of this, yeah.
And some alcohol.
You know, we all want to feed you. Though. I mean,
I
like
know.
I always want to make sure you have a decent meal. And everybody, you know, it's like
I work hard.
No,
He works hard.
the
He's,
best
you know, speed all day
podcasts
long.
are the one when Johnny Mac goes off the rails.
Well, again,
those are the
Brown
best
sugar.
podcasts ever.
Chocolate Thunder.
Chocolate Thunder.
Chocolate
Lightning.
Thunder,
Brown
and
sugar.
Vanilla Lightning.
Terrible.
Look,
Close enough for rock and roll. If you go to the strip club and you
it's
ask for
better
brown
if it's
sugar,
okay. So it's better if
There'll
we
be
go to
9
a
of them.
strip club before the podcast. But I'm okay with the strip club after the podcast.
we're going to
too.
Portland where there's strip breakfasts.
Oh no.
I know.
All right.
I'm very much excited about that.
Giddy up, son.
I'm going to do my best to support the working moms of Portland.
My wife was like,
How would you like
"What
those
kind
Where do you
eggs
wanna
out
go
west,
now?
please?
My wife was like,
When
what
is
kind
this?
of budget do you need?
Next
I'm
week.
like, well,
Can I still get a cheap ticket?
I need
Who wants to go?
$300
room.
cash and that
Seriously?
I need a $300 cash and that $6,200 credit card that has nothing on it.
Yeah.
That should do.
That should probably go. Should probably go fine.
And a Z pack.
I think Steve Hofford's over there looking, going like, what? I think the flights are still under $500. We could squeeze you in, but we have the room. We have the car.
If you have
I'll
the
share my
room,
bed
Yeah,
with
they have
you.
the room.
We have the room, dude. We have
so
the
how many
room.
days is it?
Well,
Thursday, Friday,
I'm
Saturday.
going
I'm
Thursday
heading
to
home
Tuesday because I believe in having a great time.
So Thursday.
John's
through
going
Sunday.
Thursday to Sunday,
I do it because
doable.
I really do want to see Portland.
right?
Because I've been
I can only
watching
nick off a couple
Portlandia,
days.
and I love that show.
Oh, you do?
I love that show.
it's a good show.
Well, yeah. And because the show is just the show, right? So the show is the show. And I'm sure that if we speak to the people there, we can get you some media credentials.
I'm really looking forward to Portland. I think it's a nice town and everything. And
Portland's an amazing town.
I know I have my own little, my right-leaning twist, but I'm perfectly happy hanging out with, like whatever.
Look,
it's a cool town.
I love,
and I'm sure
I love
it's gonna be
everybody.
fine.
Yeah.
Just don't hate me.
No, I love Portland, and you
I'm
guys
just
will
going
have
to
a
tuck
really
all
good
that
time.
in for this trip.
You guys will have a great time.
I'm pretty sure.
So, a long time ago,
Yeah.
you were a child in Pennsylvania,
Yep.
and somebody at some point,
In 1971, I was born.
He was
of a
born.
mother and a father.
71.
I wasn't loved
When's
much
your
at
birthday?
all.
Oh,
no.
it's coming up now, right? So you're
I
only
was loved. I was loved a lot by my mom and beat the fuck out of him. My dad's kind of. But
that's why we get along.
But I don't blame him much. I forgave him for that.
yeah,
That he made me the man I am today.
that's right.
Hold that fucking light, Don't flint. You drilled a hole in my. I still have a fucking scar. Like, quit moving. Then drills a fucking hole in my hand. Like,
Exactly, because you know what? You don't need to have a vice if you've got a 7-year-old son.
Nope.
No, you don't need to have a lift if you've got a 14-year-old son.
Other kids crash their car and their parents send the car away to get fixed. Nope. I had to go and pull doors off a 1968 fucking Chevy and haul them back and paint them and spray it and paint the whole fucking thing and restore it, basically restore it.
Make it new.
Don't
learn.
invaluable lessons.
I had my dick rubbed in the dirt more times than
Yeah, being stupid's expensive, isn't it?
But thanks to my old man, I was afraid to stay in the house, so I retreated to the garage, which he did have a really awesome garage, so I'd hide out in the garage so I didn't have to deal with my old man, and started out tearing my bicycle apart. Like, I'd rebuild, take the crank apart, repack the bearings, on a monthly basis, repaint the whole thing, and everything started out like that. My friend Stevie Pribish and I would fantasize over owning an actual motorcycle for, when the quad runners and trikes and stuff came out. Oh, very lucky to get a ride on my uncle's, ACT 110. At one point, I did a wheelie across the yard and they fucking ripped me off. You're done riding. Then the quad sports came out, but we desperately wanted an XR75.
Yes.
That was the epitome of what you could want. You wanted the XR75. Yeah. I never got any of that. It wasn't until I was probably maybe like a freshman in high school or something that I swung this deal. Got a 1972 TS 250 Suzuki. What would have been a street and trail, but hadn't seen this street in a long time.
Anything resembling fenders have been broken off long ago?
Anything resembling motorcycle had been broken off a long time ago. I purchased this for the princely sum of 50 buckheads from my, again, I grew up in Pennsylvania, so.
Exactly.
Wait.
Truly Pennsylvania.
Doll hairs.
Doll hairs, yeah.
Doll hairs.
In Pennsylvania, it's buckheads.
It's buckheads. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, I live in so my hometown was the epicenter of a nuclear they made nuclear fuel rods. It was literally Homer fucking
Seriously?
Simpsonville. And it's rumored that the Israelis got their fucking plutonium from our hometown, from our little factory. Mm-hmm. The rad count on all the houses is like 2,000 times more than what you're allowed to have.
They stored all your waste uranium rods.
So that's the Parks Township. So all the waste went into open trench fucking dumps. And so the Army Corps of Engineers years later now came back. It was a Superfund site. They were going to clean it all up. And they're like,
Too scary.
We've run into some unexpected nuclear material here, which we
Bit hot.
It's a little bit hot. We are just going to cover it back up. And
So that's why you glow in the dark. Now it makes all sense.
Well, no, that's why
you have the third eye.
the river of
Wait, let me
shit.
touch your third eye.
So the river, this is a major river, the size of the Cuyahoga.
Well, hold on. So the
Kiski-
Meckelfresh family were all 5'2" and 135 pounds.
Negative.
But now you're 6'10" and 350
Negative.
pounds.
Negative.
No, okay.
Negative.
I'm just wondering if that,
I'm the little one.
He's the smallest.
The river of shit that ran through our hometown ran red. Yeah. Like if you ever seen a polluted river with mine acid and everything. So right across from my house was the steel mill, and then up yon river was all the coal mines.
So you got all the fly ash went downhill.
So we used to fuck around on the river, and it was like you'd be up to your knees in red fucking mud, rusty river,
This is fun.
Yeah. I came from the fucking the outer fucking limits.
You're like, flu virus?
My mom's fond of telling us about, back in 1976, he has pictures of us taking us out in the river, which is never frozen over except for 1 year.
Yeah.
And she took us out on the most dangerous river you could possibly go on. Kiskiminicus is known as the fastest running, shallowest river in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And we went out on it when it barely froze.
frozen.
Dominicus?
The Kiski River, or the Kiskiminicus. It runs into the Allegheny, which then runs into Pittsburgh, into the Three Rivers, and yada, yada, yada.
You kids go have fun out in the river.
You have fun in the river.
Yeah. Take
pick
this
you up in an hour.
broomstick,
Fall
and
through
just
the ice.
Poke the ice good and make sure you don't fall through. Meanwhile, if you fall through in a river, you're done.
You're gone.
Yeah, but we survived that. We survived nuclear waste. We're fucking indestructible.
And he's coming to Portland, folks.
Right, that's
So
it.
Long about, I don't know, maybe freshman in high school, probably 13, 14. Wanted a motorcycle since I was born, but never, just denied hard. Finally, gave a kid, I came up with $50. I was, I think that was probably when I started working at Long John Silver's when I was 15 or something like that, maybe. So I actually had a little pocket change. Talked my dad into letting me get this bike. It was the biggest fucking claptrap you could ever imagine. Turns out I managed to fucking clean the car, get it running, make it happen. Fucking clutch was gone, so I ended up like, I don't have enough money to buy clutch plates, so I took the springs out and put washers on the bolts and just fucking cranked the clutch solid. So I rode it for 2 years down at
solid clutch.
with a solid clutch with no clutch at all. So I would push it, I'd start it up, I'd push it, jump on it, click it in gear, go, and just quick shift it, and did that, and I was successful for 2 years, really fucking ripping the shit out of that.
That's awesome.
Turns out, though, that this was a rare, there's no such thing as rare,
Right.
but this was the 36 horsepower. This had somebody put a top end kit on this bike, so it was, because I can remember riding this thing and being like, holy fuckity fuck, because I would take it down on we had railroad tracks that went along the Allegheny River, actually, because my buddy, I had it at a camp down there. And there were like these whoop-de-doos on the road. So it was where there were puddles and they got washed out. And I would
sound thirsty.
I would, okay, feed me.
Feed me, Seymour.
Oh, God. So I remembered, being 15-ish and just hitting those things with I didn't care about my life.
Why care, right? 15.
And I would just go down there. I would, drop in at third or fourth gear or whatever.
Yep.
And then just be like, whap, 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 and lose my Braunschweiger. So that was like my first bike. I just started life on a 30 horsepower, which should, a hopped up 30 horsepower 1972 TS 250. Then it went from there. And then a little bit later on, I went through a couple of jobs. I was working construction at 16 or 17 for a company that did shopping malls, did shoe stores and stuff in shopping malls. Kid I worked with sold me my second bike growing was a TT 500.
Yeah.
Yamaha. So that was just a little bike that I got.
And that's one of those things it's a warning sign. Don't ever, ever, ever
Johnny, let me load you back up.
have a TT 500 Yamaha. Like that motorcycle, legendary. Every single TT 500. So a TT 500, for lack of a better term, I'll bring one up on the screen, but a TT 500 Yamaha is a fucking 500cc two-stroke single.
No, that's a four-stroke.
Oh yeah, yours. Okay, I'm sorry. Yours is like the SR. The SR.
Yeah, it's an XT or a TT.
Yeah, XT or TT, right? Yeah, and the XT or the TT.
So mine had the silver and polished
red
aluminum tank.
Yeah. With
a WDVE 102.5 sticker on it.
Yeah.
Because that's Pittsburgh's classic rock station. It had a green
Where are you going with this one? I was like, radio station.
It had a green Kawasaki fender on the front. And
Kawasaki fender on the front.
So by that point, I had purchased a camp lot at the Allegheny River for the princely sum for all summer. This lot, which was 40 by 100 yards,
from
the railroad tracks down to the river. It was uncleared land. I got it for $150
for the summer.
Because you could, for the whole summer, the whole year, because nobody had ever lived there before, and you could barely get there. with a car or anything. So my job was to be Pioneer John and clear this fucking lot and take my bike down there. And I lived down there on in a tent with this bike. And I would basically, I would work during the day. I was working construction. I built a house for my boss. He had $500,000 in subcontract.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Yes, you can.
Wasn't the best time of your life?
It was the best time of my life. The only thing that could have made it, the only thing that could have made it better was
more beer.
No, lots of beer, lots of bike,
more pussy.
Bingo. So my friend, my one buddy used to come down and hang out with me. He was a hippie dude, Jim Short, and
Jim Shorts.
Yeah, his name was Short, Jimmy Short. And he was like, yo, dude, and everything. And we would take the LSDs. And we would hang out in the river, and I would ride my bike, and we would just like have a fire, and we would sit there, and we would fantasize about like a part. Like, man, would it be so cool if like a fucking party barge would just like fucking
just come down this river,
beach itself, and all these fucking women would fall off, and it'd be like the fucking most fun
it'd be the coolest thing ever.
Can I interrupt you?
You can interrupt all you want, man.
Can somebody help me finish this fucking bottle?
Oh, dude.
We're gonna do that. We're gonna do a
$200
day.
Suck down right there. All right.
But
no, I can't drink this all myself.
But to make
Or you don't have to.
I think
I'm
you can.
trying to, but you're not helping me very much.
But to make a short,
Hoff's gonna
long
buy a
story
motorcycle
short,
tomorrow to
'cause
make up for it.
I've been through all kinds of bikes and stuff since then. That was just my humble beginnings. At the actually tail end of that motorcycle is when I met my wife.
Right.
Because I was working in the summers, and I actually brought her home at one point, and we got to ride that bike. I threw her off the back. She fell off the back. But we had a great time.
Wait a minute. Wait, you threw her off the back, but she threw you off the top.
No, she really liked it. There was this one place where I could go up this. Well, first of all,
Were you pumping willies?
So you're in Western Pennsylvania on the fucking Allegheny River,
Yeah,
Right.
there's not-
and so there's pipelines off of the. So from the river, I would go down the river. So you do all that. Then there's a pipeline with a no. You can set that down. So there was a pipeline that they called it the high wall.
Yep.
Which when you would look at it, when you approached it, it looked like a wall that you were going to try to climb your bike up. And you would hit it, you go down through a creek, and then you just have to give it everything you had in second gear.
Just leaning on
And
it.
just stay. If you couldn't, it doesn't matter if it got away from you or whatever, don't let off the throttle.
Yeah,
You're not
under
going to
any
make off it.
Yep.
You get up that, and then you could go for miles just up and down hills out this pipeline and everything, which was cool. But she liked this one place where there was a jump uphill, so we would launch. We'd come up the hill and you catch air for a little while, and then land it, on the hill. And then we had a really good time down there that one time. And then she got caught by a branch and fell off. That wasn't so fun.
Nice.
But she forgave me, and I picked her up. And I was like, oh my God, shit.
And so currently, your source of income is that you do.
So flash
communications.
forward
Yeah.
30 years.
Right.
Okay, so-
Exactly.
So from there, I worked, so then that was
You did
Summer-
financing.
summers
Right.
doing my, I went to college.
Right.
Mercyhurst College in Erie, PA. That's where I met my wife. Hung out with some great dudes and everything. I was kind of a deadhead for a while. Fish shows, a little bit of a hippie action kind of thing.
Fish
You get the
shows.
vibe, yeah. And then got out of there, moved to Cleveland. Just showed up on my wife's doorstep. She lived in above my friend's deli down on Detroit.
Oh,
across
shit,
from
yeah.
yeah. She's like, I don't remember inviting you. I'm like,
Well, I'm
I
here.
really did. I had a choice: go home or go to your house. I chose your house.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at home,
There's no pussy.
I worked as a baker for a year. I cleaned decks for a year.
Really?
Eventually I had to see. I was on like the 5.2 program of getting 5 years, 0.2, getting my college degree. I had to go back to Cleveland State University to finally take that last statistics class and finally get my degree. And then I worked for Key Bank, Charter One Bank, National City Bank. Worked for all the banks for 10 to 15 years. Amongst
Wasted
that,
your life for 15 fucking years.
yeah, I did. Really, I did. And then that was, but then in that meantime, my post-college, so college, no bikes, then got a CX500 from my buddy, got his impounded. So I'm like, fuck, you let the CX500 that I was taking acid and did a wheelie and it fucking went into a crowd of people? You can't let that go away.
I got you, bro. I got you, bro.
So I went and got it out of Hock for $200 and some bucks and brought it back and straightened it out. Then it
You
was in
want
my
us
garage.
to believe that a CX500 can do a wheelie? Come on.
I can.
It shouldn't, but I made it do it.
I know, I've done it.
Oh no, I did several wheelies. The problem is I was doing several wheelies in the space of a driveway between the house and the garage, and people hanging out in the garage thought it was fun until it got away from me and launched into the garage. But that was not one of my finer moments.
What did they gross?
It was really cool until it wasn't.
Until it stopped being cool.
Yeah,
At that moment, it was no longer cool.
then like Frank,
It was super not cool.
Then Frank, whose bike it was, who tried to catch it in midair and grabbed hold of the pipes, and maybe his hands got burned.
Flipper
a little
baby.
bit. Yeah. There was that.
There was that.
Kill that
It was
bottle.
cool, man.
There was a KZ650 at one point, which never made it to the road. I just used to fuck with it and start it up and fucking
hate it.
drive my neighbors crazy
Just hate
with
the
this
bike.
fucking this KZ650 that I never got a title for. That I got fucked out of a title. That taught me real quick.
Yeah.
Always get a fucking title.
Yeah. Well,
Flash
don't
forward.
work on anything until you have a title.
I'll flash forward to one point.
Yeah.
Amerivespa.
Yeah.
So when the Amerivespa rally was in
did here in
Cleveland,
That's when I met you.
bam. That's what one of the most
That's the segue.
one of the
That's when
most
I met
pinnacle
you.
moments of my life was when I met Steve Hoffer.
That's right.
He was riding.
Oh, beautiful.
I will never forget it. He was riding a Honda Passport, a beautiful.
He still
Honda
does.
A
Passport.
gorgeous Honda
I see it. I rode it tonight.
It was like
same bike I rode that
fate.
night. I rode tonight.
It was like kismet.
It was kismet. Yeah.
I
No,
was.
I sat at that booth with you and I talked to you for a couple hours, I think.
Yeah.
Nice.
I showed up to the scooter rally on a.
I would like to call your attention to the fact that we had the largest rally in America. People
was-
came to Cleveland from Florida
It was epic.
to participate in a fucking Vespa rally.
There are
And
patches.
that bar no longer exists.
And John met a guy from Cleveland
What are the odds, right?
Warren Tavern.
at the
Was
Warren
that the
Tavern.
Warren
It was the
Tavern?
Warren
Oh,
Tavern.
I
On
missed the
Madison
Warren
and
Tavern so
Lakewood?
badly.
No, the Warren Tavern was
Warren.
awesome.
Yeah, so on Madison Tavern in
Madison.
Lakewood.
And they put a fucking, Walgreens in there. or something.
Again, it was an amazing, epic event. We had people showing up like 2 and 3 days before the event. I was way out of my league, and I'd agreed to host the damn thing.
No, that was the best event I've ever gone to.
We had hundreds of bikes lined up all the way down West 25th Street. And my whole thing was like, I don't care, I got this. And people are like, well, but how are you going to lead a ride with 400 bikes in it?
Yeah, I got this.
I got this.
Yep.
It only takes one man to lead a ride.
That's it. That was
We
my
went
exact
right
point.
by, and we went by my house, in
Yeah.
West Clifton.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And my wife filmed it all, and
Yep.
she's like, that is so awesome.
We went down to the Rock and Roll Hall of
Yeah.
Fame. We went to Edgewater Park. We did this really ridiculously, like we do with the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. Everyone's like, oh, do a 15-minute ride. Cleveland does a 2-hour ride, 3-hour ride. We did the same thing back then. We've always been this ridiculous, like, fuck you, we're going to ride really long. And we did, and we rode stupid long. And every time the police would show up, we would just be like, look, what do you want us to do? We have all the people here. How are we going to stop this? So let's just let it happen. It'll all be over shortly.
Get out of the way.
And you'll have a great story for your kids. And
Like I like to tell my wife. You only feel a pinch and it'll be over in a couple seconds.
that was just it was such a strange event because all these people came out of the woodwork that were like, oh yeah, I've lived in Cleveland my whole life. That's great. Do you have a scooter? Yeah, I've got a bunch of scooters. Really? Where the fuck have you been? And that was like that event was very much, we got to meet a lot of people. We got to really, really meet people we'd never seen before, never met before. And these two guys, yeah, clearly.
One of the things I had done on that CX500 is you had started, that might have been the beginning of non-douchebag bike night.
Yeah,
When I
non-douchebag
still-
bike night. Yeah.
When I still had that CX500,
Yeah.
because I remember a trip a motorcycle ride to the Stan Hewitt Museum over there.
Yep.
So that was one of the things I'd heard about that. I talked to you a little bit when you were on your West 25th Street shop. And I knew something about that. And, I used to come in and look around a little bit and everything.
What year was that? I'm sorry. What year was that?
Oh, that's probably circa like 2005.
Yeah, 4 or 5, yeah.
Something like
exactly.
that,
Yeah, non-douchebag bike night, when we started doing that, that was just our answer to everybody going to Quaker Steak and Lube and like, please insert your front wheel into the wheel chock. Now destroy your rear tire. Yay, revelry ensues.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's Gary Melton John's fanny pack. We don't want anything to do with that.
Hondas, everybody's looking at the two Hondas.
Yeah.
Nobody's looking at the Harley.
Yeah.
I have stories about that period. So go you next. All right.
The West 25th experiences, I used to roll in there just to check out all the cool shit.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of cool stuff. I really felt, I wasn't a scooter dude, but they were all pretty cool. I remember at one point my question to Phil was like, hey, if you find like a $500 scooter with a title, like I'd really love to grab one of those. He's like, yeah, so would I.
I was like, yeah, I'll give you one after I have 7. Right. When I get to my 8th one, I'll throw you a bone.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I get it, And I was, I'm a cheap bastard.
Right.
That's why I got into fucking Japanese
We're all
bikes and
cheap.
stuff.
We're all cheap.
So
bastards.
Absolutely.
I tried not to waste too much of Phil's time, knowing that I was never really going to buy a retail price fucking anything from him. But I did, then it started at one point. I'm like, if you ever need a mechanic, that was with the beginning of, I wouldn't mind being a fucking, mechanic at some point.
Right.
And I was
But we're
doing
common
various jobs.
souls. But
And
the
then,
thing is, we're common souls.
right.
Yeah.
And we're all common souls here.
Where the fates collided was when I dropped out of the police academy. Well, I was supposed to have a job. Well, no, that was after I was a mechanic for a while.
Yeah.
I lost my job at National City, and I was at the Lake Erie Loop, and I was like, man, I just lost my job. And you're like, you want a job?
Yeah,
you want
right.
to be a mechanic? I'm like, yeah, I want a job. He says, if you can work, see me Monday. So. Sure enough, I showed up and he's like, well, fucking fix this.
Yeah, usually starting work at my shop is you don't know that you started work yet.
What is this?
Prune.
Oh, it looks like Worcestershire sauce.
What did I just
It tastes
taste?
delicious.
Can you guys taste the prune?
Well, that
I can
harkens.
taste the prune in that.
That
It's
harkens
liquid
to
habit.
the
Hold on, I got a shit.
to the Samuel Adams. The really high price stuff is almost what that tastes like. But you're saying that's prune?
Prune.
No, he says it tastes like prune. This is apple butter sizer.
Apple butter size.
It has like
Explain
8 or 10
it. Can you
ingredients.
explanacate that to me?
So apple butter sizer is made with pumpkin honey,
Okay.
Pumpkin, yeah.
apple butter.
So pumpkin honey is going to be the blossoms of pumpkin flowers.
Correct.
Holy fuckity fuck.
Apple butter.
I don't know. It's delicious to me.
Apple
it's
butter,
very good.
pumpkin honey,
Yeah.
I'm so fucked up it doesn't matter.
cinnamon,
Well, you have to tell your
Dark
story,
malt.
so don't
Yeah.
fucking
Dark malt.
muscovado
So
brown
story to tell
sugar,
here.
and usually white raisins.
White raisins.
And then what's the base? Is it? It's got to be
All right.
apple cider.
Before this becomes a how to brew juice podcast,
Fest.
let's
Okay.
go to Mr. Steve Hoffer over here. So
No,
we've known your
John's
history.
not done yet.
You're done, or you're not done?
Well, I mean, I could flash forward past like, I worked for Phil for a while. Then I became a cop.
In the back door.
Then I
action
worked for
and-
Phil again.
Yeah, right.
And then, when I fucked that up, and then I worked for Phil again. Then I became a cop again.
Right.
When did
Then
the
I
crack
said, fuck being
happen?
a cop, and now I've settled on. I'm a radio repair technician for the city of Cleveland.
Right.
I fix. The city of Cleveland has the P125 radios, which are in all the cop cars, fire trucks, EMS, and all the utilities vehicles. We have 15 radio towers, so we maintain our own site. So this is like when all fucking everything goes to shit.
Right.
This shit's supposed to stay up and running, no matter what.
So it's not just the radios, it's
As
also
long
the
as you're
towers.
in-
It's the whole
charge.
towers, the whole infrastructure and everything.
pretty
So I go from knuckle dragging. I just put a radio in a fucking old fucking garbage truck to I got to go out to a radio tower to meet a guy to fucking. Wait, I'm not saying fucking. What are you fucking laughing?
Oh,
at?
you were the one that
I
started the whole
just drank
thing.
my drink. I drank my plum diarrhea juice, and after I drank my
Which is
delicious
really good.
beverage, after I drank my Sicer,
I was like, that cup is unusually
full again.
full. And it wasn't just full, it was brimming. So I carefully
Damn you,
drank it so I
Slippy.
didn't spill anything. And I drank it, and I set it back down, and off I fucked. And then I look over and see Steve, Sleepy's just taking his portion and literally topping me off to the same impossible. Like, Archimedes couldn't hold a fucking bond of liquid across the top of this fucking glass the way that Steve did it. He literally, this is what he
He's
didn't pour in.
You're being roofied.
Sneaky
He
fucker.
didn't pour in.
It's gaslighting.
Yeah. He didn't
Did I
pour
drink
in.
that? Did I not drink that?
Yeah. What the
Seriously,
fuck?
though, that was very good. The last
No,
one
it was
was
good, yeah.
excellent.
You know, at one point I was a vintage
Slicer,
Japanese
baby.
motorcycle club.
Yeah.
And then there was the Lake Erie Loop phase there where I had a bunch of stupid small bikes.
The whole idea was to make 200 cc's.
Well, that's when
Go
I met
far.
you. You had the 200.
Right.
So
So that
200.
Yeah. Well, now when you met me, I had a 1972 Yamaha CS5.
CS5.
which was a two-stroke twin 200 cc
But without a reed
screamer.
valve.
No, it was
Yeah,
a 200
port-
though. I knew it was a
yeah,
200.
It was
Houston
200.
ported.
And that little fucker would do wheelies, and so that was my little thing at the Amerivest.
Zang!
Everybody else
Yeah.
was riding scooters and everything, and I was like, oh, well, you like
I got 350
Here,
cc's,
check this
bitch.
out. Ring, 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 ring. And it would stand up, and I was like,
Yeah, it
whoa, okay. That bike
And all the
was...
scooter guys were like, oh, we approve.
Possibilities as well.
And then, then it ensued. Then the scooters were like, oh,
Right.
yeah,
fuck yeah.
Oh, it's a wheelie competition.
We had a little bit of that out. At
Turns
the,
out-
what's the lake there? Halfway
tap,
through the
tap.
metro parks when you get to the place where there's
Wallace
the
Lake?
Yeah,
Yeah,
something
Wallace
like
Lake.
that.
Yeah.
In that parking lot, that was a little.
Oh, we
rough.
turned Wallace Lake parking lot into a 200 vehicle wheelie show. It was the silliest damn thing. I had brought my Ace, my big airport shuttle bus,
Yeah.
and one of our sponsors had given us like 900 bags of potato chips and various other snack foods. So I was like, there's no good way to distribute this. And so I just climbed up through the roof fence, like the emergency escape hatches on the bus. I climbed up on the roof, as we do, and I just was like, fuck you, savages. And I just started whipping these things. And I was whipping boxes of snack foods.
hot dog cannon style.
Yes, it was hot dog cannon style. And we were like, it was everything from like Nutri-Grain bars all the way up to like, Sun Chips. And people were gathered and we're throwing out, all these products to the masses. Snacks, baby, snacks. And what happened was everybody was like, and we also went through like 9 cases of beer on the ride.
It happens.
So we had this impromptu wheelie competition, and then the park rangers showed up, and I was like, oh, fuck, party's over. But then the park rangers were like, I didn't even know you could wheelie a moped. And I went, yeah. You can. And I was like,
And you can,
I was
too.
like, you want to try it? And the guy was like, no, I don't think so. And he's like, but you can wheelie that? And I was like, oh, I can wheelie the living bejesus out of this.
You can really anything.
I work really hard. Like my MO is basically if I get a motorcycle, the first thing I'm going to do is wheelie it. And if I can't wheelie it, I get angry and I try to figure out why I can't wheelie it. And there's been a couple of bikes I can't wheelie, 1 or 2.
See, I'm like the more. So you're the clutch up.
Yeah, I'm a
the
clutch
power up.
Oh, I'm a clutch up guy.
Clutch, yeah.
I power up. I power up on bikes that have power,
Yeah,
but most bikes don't have power.
Most bikes don't have power.
Yeah.
You can clutch up anything.
Yeah, I can clutch up anything.
But I like a bike
No,
that I can.
that.
I
Power.
can give the throttle
Bounce
a
it.
little
Fill
bit,
that
let
bottle.
off the throttle, and then give a big heap of throttle and have it stand up.
Yeah.
That's where I'm most comfortable at.
Yep.
You are very comfortable with the ring, 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 ring.
just-
I like
stand it
a
up.
good
The other way around.
3 mile an hour clutch up wheelie.
Yeah.
Because to me, I always enjoy a super slow, like an impossibly slow wheelie. I like a wheelie that's at walking speeds because people just don't expect it. It's like you just all of a sudden
us out
front
here.
wheels in the air and you're just kind of creeping along.
See,
But you got to clutch a wheelie.
Maybe it's because I, like dirt bikes and
Yeah.
everything. I like when you're on a dirt bike and you're just like, and
power
all of a
bounce it
sudden
up.
you find your fucking front wheel is in the air.
Bounce
and
it
you're
up.
like,
That's different. That's a different
and the fucking-
wheelie.
Yeah.
That's a whole
That's a
different.
whole
You just
different
happen to hit a bump right and you give it the throttle right and holy shit, I'm fucking
I
doing
do
it.
a clutch bounce.
My
So
XL
mine-
500.
Yeah.
That's a great bike for wheelies.
It is a great bike for wheelies.
So wait, I have to
It
hear your
will.
house story. I'm sure your first
Yeah.
bike was like, I want to take this moped and make it go 7,000 miles on one tank of gas.
Well, let me comment really quick about the TT 500.
Right.
That bike came equipped with an extra large rear
Big
sprocket.
sprocket.
So it was a wheelie. Anytime I tried to let somebody else ride it, the first thing they would do, like, brum, brum,
Well, the first thing you do is not start it.
They would flip on their fucking back immediately.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah, I told you." It's like
Big sprocket.
it's
Which
got
was
a big
great with the
sprocket.
women because it incapacitated them. They were on their back, so you were perfect.
Yeah.
Why is she bleeding from her ears? Don't worry.
yeah,
Don't worry.
Yeah, she slid off the back, but she didn't slide into the back wheel. You know,
Right.
like
She didn't feed her into the back.
did her
tire.
cunt knobbied up.
Oh man.
Well, there's demonetization.
Let me repeat. Let me wait. Let me repeat that. Cunt knobbied up.
That sounds like a Spanish holiday. Feliz
No, it's
Navidad.
not. Well, close enough.
Cunt knobbied up. They're cunt knobbied up.
The people from the IMS show are gonna be like, "So how's your recap
cunt
going?"
knobbied up.
You're gonna have to
We're
get
not
through
doing
2
it.
hours.
It's okay. We're fine. You know what? The thing was we were talking about doing a recap of the IMS show, but then
It might happen after this.
It might. But as I was kind of going through listener mail, what I realized is that a lot of people that actually come into the shop or talk to us at the show and stuff or brought us White Castle.
I don't think our sponsors would like cunt knobbied up.
No.
But White Castle and
Stro.
Still, you know what? I see that guy's face in my
thank
mind
God for
right
these
now,
people.
and he's still my favorite guy
He's still
in
my
the
favorite
whole
guy.
world.
So the fact that we have podcast people that are nice enough to bring us White Castle when we
White
desperately
Castle's
need
a
it, and they bring us Stro when we absolutely need it, because that Stro got me through the weekend, by the way.
Can I say something awesome though?
Yeah.
So those guys brought the White Castle at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
I
And
love
you
that.
guys and everybody there was
Right.
chomping away.
Oh, yeah.
And you
Fuck
guys
yeah.
showed up later and had them at like 12
Wait,
and
somebody
1.
brought White Castle, and I wasn't there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you weren't
you weren't there.
But the best part
Saturday.
was
Motherfucker.
one of our buddies, James,
Yeah.
who came at 5:30 or 6 and then posted a thing to Facebook like, yeah.
Oh,
And I was
Noble,
like,
yeah, Steve Noble.
Yeah, and I was like, you know that came at 10 a.m., right?
Yeah, it's like 9-year-old White Castle.
And he was
It
like,
doesn't matter. It never rots. It cannot be.
he
I
was
think
like,
I was eating it after that.
me too. I did too, for sure.
So
Well, and we had people coming by the booth, look at the White Castle, and say, "Where the fuck did they sell that in here? I got to get some of that."
so there was
Old
two.
move.
So the table, you couldn't beat the table. Phil had the fucking
Moto Compo.
the Moto
Moto
Compo
Compo.
and White Castle on the
Yeah,
same table.
yeah.
And if they would have looked under the
Both
table,
are
they'd know the bar
inaccessible
was
in
open.
Ohio right now. And people
I
were
want to
just
thank
like,
anybody who brought the White Castle.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I missed it,
Yeah.
but thank God you brought it.
Yeah.
So, flash forward. I go to the show on Saturday.
Right.
I go skiing Saturday night.
Saturday.
oh, very nice.
Sunday, I'm kicking around the house doing what I do, getting ready to go to another. It was my daughter's birthday thing, but I keep smelling the fucking White Castle.
You
I'm
can't
like,
not smell it. 'cause
Were you
it's
farting?
embedded
these
in
aren't
your
the same clothes.
Oh.
I don't feel like I farted. Maybe I
Right.
farted. Am I farting White Castle?
No.
And not even knowing
And I
about
keep
it.
smelling the fucking White Castles.
Right.
Next thing you know, I track it down. I'm like, oh yeah, Wifey Poo has bagged up the garbage and it's sitting there. I'm like, I'm not smelling the White Castles. I'm smelling that fucking bag of garbage.
The bag
that
of
smells
garbage.
exactly like the fucking White Castles. I'm like, oh shit.
And yet to us, it was fucking cavies.
It was
I'll tell you what.
At 10 o'clock in the morning, we were like, that's
Oh,
exactly what
delicious.
we
The guy who brought that,
Now
he
I'm
could have
mad
been
that
like,
nobody texted me that somebody brought White Castle.
need. We didn't want to hurt you, man.
dude, that guy
We
could have
didn't
been
wanna
like,
share.
I'm not a dick. I don't want
hey,
to hurt you.
I love you guys. Here's $5,000.
Right.
Instead, he brought White Castle,
Yeah.
and it achieved the same thing.
We had a White
no, no,
Castle,
no.
and we had a bottle of Stro.
Yeah, right.
Make
That wasn't
no mistake.
that wasn't
Make
his
no
30-year-old bottle of
fucking
Stro.
mistake.
Yeah.
The White Castle was the right fucking move.
It was.
You
I
guys all-
enjoyed every little
Well, what's
morsel
funny
of that.
is-
All I had was a bun, and they gave you the burger off
Yeah.
of it, and the bun was still fucking
You made a
good.
choice.
Well, yeah.
Way to go, vegan. You made a
Okay,
choice.
have fun with that there, vegan.
Vegan.
But can I say something about the Strohs or with
Yeah, of
Strohs?
course, yeah.
It didn't mix.
No.
You could pour it in your drink all you wanted, and it just floated to the
That's
top.
what I did. Yeah. I'd taken in a bottle of ginger ale because my idea was I was like, okay, I'll get a bottle of whiskey somewhere. I got a bottle of wild turkey in my truck. 101 will be great.
Oh, I didn't
And-
know about any of this before you polished off half of my fucking Captain Morgan.
No, that was me.
motherfucker.
That was him,
me.
but-
I'm sorry.
He loaded me up too. And so I was like, I got a bottle. I usually keep a bottle hiding around somewhere, but the Stro, I was like, well, let's see how the Stro mixes. So it turns out the Stro doesn't mix.
No, it doesn't.
And that's the weirdest thing about the Stro is it just takes over whatever room it's in.
Yeah, you'd
And-
have to mix the Stro like 1 to 10.
Oh my God, man!
I told you, mix it with root beer.
Yeah, well, I did that was my trick, and I had root beer, so I had actual real root beer that I stopped on the way in with that giant styrofoam cup, that big ridiculous styrofoam
on
cup.
Friday night,
Yeah.
I could smell you from like 10 feet away.
I was so happy.
You were very happy.
I
but
was
from
so
10
happy.
feet away, I could smell bourbon.
And that was one of those things I was like, root beer and bourbon. Why am I the first person to be on this express route? Turns out it's delicious. Root beer and bourbon is
It may be
genius.
delicious, but you can smell it from 10
And it
feet
turns out
away.
that Stroh and ginger ale is totally delicious.
You're like, Zero uses no gasoline, and all the people were like, really?
It smells like something's about to combust over here. Oh, my shitting God.
But Phil enjoyed his root beer and
I did.
Stroh.
Yeah.
And we're walking from the Zero booth over to the vintage booth, and he just absentmindedly was empty cup.
He did.
He tossed it in the trash and kept walking. And 3 steps later, he goes, "Fuck! I shouldn't have done that because you need the cup." So he goes back and he's kind of digging. I saw.
I'm like, George Costanza.
Yeah, I
That
saw-
donut was right on top.
I
it was
went
right on
into
top.
a goddamn trash can at the IX Center to get a styrofoam 32-ounce cup because there's nothing
Phil's
more
feet are
valuable.
sticking out of the top as he's down there digging around looking for it.
There's nothing more valuable to an alcoholic at the IX Center show than a 32-ounce styrofoam cup.
Phil, I got you. Let me pull you back out, baby.
I was like, man.
Smith, grab my feet. Seriously,
And
I'm
when
going in.
John left us a bag of ice. So it was like, John left us half a bag of ice. And I was like, oh, that's going to go in the styrofoam cup. And I was like, okay, I got Stroh. All right.
Half a bottle of Pepsi.
I got half a bottle of Pepsi. You went and bought Pepsi?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow. And it turns out that, Stroh's a bit of
This
a
is
wicked
going to be a
ride.
fantastic. Not.
I hate to tell you that Pepsi uses aborted babies' fetuses to make a genetically engineered sweetener out
Well,
of it.
do you
Say
know
that
what?
again.
I can't say it again.
I cannot tell you what they put in straw. But whatever they put in straw is fucking strong.
All I know is that I drank what Phil drank before I left, and I dropped Chris off, and I was fine. And then Stroh's hit me.
Yeah.
But then I was going to a meeting with a guy to buy a trailer, and this guy was like,
This turned out well for me.
no, whatever this guy did, he had a house that was like $700,000. They had a fucking 800,000 mile fucking RV sitting in their driveway. They were leaving. They were selling their house. They were leaving. This thing had to go. And I'm sitting there, and he's like, this guy has lived his whole life by the book. There's
Should've
no
lowballed
way
that
that
fucker.
this dude has been like, oh, I can't do 37. It's 35. Like, this is his whole life. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I want your trailer. And he's like, oh, yeah, let me fix a few things and stuff. And I'm sitting there, and I'm hammered. And I'm standing in this guy's garage. And he's like, so what are you thinking? And I'm like, well, I have $400. And he was like, okay, yeah, okay, cool. I'm like, okay, this transaction's over. Let's
Hook
hook
it
the
up,
fucking
take it
trailer
away.
thing, and
Yeah.
let's go.
Let's go.
No, an hour and 10 minutes later, his wife's making shit on stoves. We're talking, and she's saying how nice of a person I am, and their sons have beards and all this stuff.
Does she go?
Stroh
Look it
gives
up
you a
and-
personality.
Does she go?
Is she a goer?
No,
Does she go?
wanted
Nudge,
to go.
nudge.
Wink, wink.
No,
Holiday
Saying them
photos,
all, saying them
snaps,
all.
action snaps.
None of that.
What was
So,
the
like,
rack like?
It was no rack. It was a grandma status.
Oh.
But all I'm saying is that like I was in these like normal people's. I was Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah.
Invading these.
You
people's
were in
houses.
normal world, but you were just being a motorcyclist.
Oh, dude,
earlier.
it was so gnarly. Finally, like I get the shit hooked up, and he's like, "All right, have a good one." I'm like, "All right, I'm leaving." He's like, "Let me just say goodbye to it." I'm like,
Say goodbye to your fucking trailer.
Like, oh, yeah,
Jesus
you-
Christ. Yeah, let me tell you how your trailer's going to use.
Yeah.
Hard.
hard.
Put away
Well,
wet.
At Mid Ohio, there's
I'm gonna
probably
go
going to be
smoke a
100
cigar.
people on this trailer.
You guys can all fuck off.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that was Johnny Mac's story.
So, Mr.
Go without
Hoffert.
me.
All right, Hoff, your turn.
Mr. Hoffert. How did, dude, how?
Belly
I
up
was
to the
born-
mic.
I was born.
In 64.
Yeah, you were.
Holy
I will
shit!
die sometime soon. Oscar?
Check.
So what was your first
We don't
bike?
believe that for a second. Wait, how old were you when you got your first bike?
Yeah.
It wasn't really my first bike. Moto Morini.
Yeah, Motorini. Okay.
My friend Bobby Royce, his dad died falling from a parachute that did not open.
Whoa, that is not a good parachute.
Yeah.
No, it was not. It was sad, but we worked on this bike forever, and we couldn't get it running.
All right. So which
Sorry.
one was it? Which Moto Marini was it? Was it a 3.5 or was it a dirt bike?
It was like a scooter with an engine underneath.
Oh, really? Okay, all right, yeah.
It's all at the Wellington Engine Show.
Oh, all right.
I'm sorry, I'm so wasted right now.
Well, it's okay. You know, you're not. You're
This
just speaking in
Scummy,
cursive.
scummy sewer guy is expected to
No, I'm serious.
Grumpy.
This bourbon
sorry.
Grumpy sewer.
It's awesome.
Yeah, grumpy sewer guy.
When you're wasted, you're just the old sewer guy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the first bike I actually fixed was a Z50, blue and white.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's why you want the blue monkey.
Yeah.
That's why you want the blue monkey.
because This kid, Sean Pekarsik, he wanted to beat the shit out of me in like
Reliable.
9th grade. And I
Fuck that guy.
pounded the crap out of him.
Nice. Yeah.
But then we became friends.
Right.
And, you know, I fixed this
Had
kid's
sex.
bike.
Yeah.
Right.
And my
Yeah.
grandpa would take us with our go-kart and, we had a go-kart. And I'm sorry, I'm so fucking
It's okay, dude.
roasted right now.
Keep going. It's all good.
But the Z50 and the go-kart, we would
Right.
take up to like the Kmart parking lot
Yeah.
on Euclid Avenue.
So okay, for podcast listeners, Hopper and I both grew up on the east side of Cleveland. So
Right.
we both grew up in
We
the
were
eastern
probably
suburbs.
a few
And
blocks
so he
apart.
grew up in Euclid and I grew up in Wickliffe. So these two communities are literally right next to each other. And in the shadow of Cleveland on the east side is Euclid, and the shadow of Euclid is Wickliffe. Euclid is a bigger community. It's a bigger suburb,
like 50,000.
much bigger. And Wickliffe is
And
like
more
six-
upscale.
Yeah. And Wickliffe is like Wickliffe is like 6,000 people. So the funny thing is, like, Euclid is one of those places where, like, they've got like a real police force, and they've got like a really big high school, and the kids who grew up in Euclid are always like, "Wow, man, we don't want to play Euclid in football because they're going to kill us."
Well, that used to be the way it
Right,
was.
exactly. But it was that very strange thing. So he and I are pretty close in ages, and that time growing up in that weird post Vietnam, Cold War era of
You
that
know,
time.
pillbox houses,
Yeah.
brick pillbox houses.
It's very much a suburban mindset, but everybody's dads worked in Cleveland. Everybody's uncles worked in Cleveland. Like, this was very much the feeder system. This was the farm league for Cleveland. And growing up there was kind of an interesting game because you were just expected to go do what your dad did. You were just expected to go.
Light motors.
Just like, like a pants off,
Right.
pants off.
Pants off. Well, so that's the weird thing. At what point when you were doing your teenage years, at what point did you decide motorcycles are my game, man? That's my jam.
My dad hated
Yeah.
motorcycles.
Same with mine.
Because he saw
Yep.
when he was a kid, he saw some guy hit the tracks,
Yeah.
crash, he was either hit by a train,
Right.
or he wiped out,
Yeah.
and his brains were splattered
Right.
all over his like leather helmet.
Yeah.
So he would not allow me to. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get
No,
this.
just the
That's good.
visualization of just the leather
And
helmet.
then the
just
leather
brings
helmet came
everywhere.
in.
It's
No,
like-
the guy was wearing a leather helmet.
And we instantly all
His
went
brains,
steampunk.
like splattered, and he was like dead on the tracks.
Crows just swooped in.
And
I'm sorry.
No, it's fun, man, dude. It's fun.
No,
But
but he,
good
would,
story, good
he
story.
did not want me to have a
Right.
motorcycle.
Four fenders, 2 bumpers, or you don't ride.
And a
Yeah.
seatbelt.
So
Yeah.
I would like to ride an SSR right now.
Let's finish
I
the
don't think it's
cast.
gonna-
Let's finish the cast.
And then I'll
trying to
take a
get through
GoPro
this.
and then we'll film you right now.
trying to get through this, but goddamn John and whatever his name is,
Leather helmet.
that bottle of Weller is awesome.
John Sawyer.
Weller.
John Sawyer.
John Sawyer,
John
thank
Sawyer took care of us with the Weller.
You. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So your dad didn't want you to
anyway,
ride.
my
So
dad
no
didn't want
bikes
me to
in your
have a
household?
motorcycle,
Right.
But
Keep things on track.
my chemistry professor,
Yeah.
Where did
Bill
he
Von
touch you?
Bacon
From
from Euclid,
Breaking Bad.
Where did he touch you?
on the stall. Shows
No,
me.
he was cool.
Here.
Taught me to shoot guns,
Go ahead.
ride motorcycles,
Right.
climb rocks.
Whoa. Okay.
That was
that's
sale.
Today you will be a
Super
fucking
sale.
man.
He was
Right.
awesome.
yeah.
He gave me a 175.
Really?
Right. And I
CL
wrote-
175?
Please be
No, it was a
specific.
Cow, two-stroke
Yeah.
175.
Okay. Yeah. KE baby. KE.
No, it was, I don't know if it was a KE. It was Enduro.
Oh. Okay. All right. KX 175.
It had a mixed tank, but
Fucking
you had
K.
a
Fuck him.
the tank was screwed up, so you had a mixed gas.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So anyway, I rode that through high school,
Yeah.
and he had an XL 500S,
Ooh.
but
Yeah.
I bought an XL 500R just to
Just to fuck with him.
yeah.
The XL
Sounds like
500.
Stevie.
My cousin had one, and
Yeah.
he was a legend.
Oh,
in
yeah.
hill climbing on
yeah.
an XL 500.
No, the XL 500Rs were unbelievably.
Truly one of the greatest motorcycles ever built. Yeah.
No, they had the RFVC engines.
Yeah. Yeah. That was that. If you
I
look
could
up on the
wheel
screen.
that on demand.
Yeah. The XL. Yeah. The XL 500R, Pro Link suspension, 4-valve motor,
Classic look too.
gorgeous bike, and
It's
really
like a sore dick. You can't beat
you
it.
can't beat it. You really can't beat it. And you had your choice of either red or white. You know.
Yeah, and I had a red one.
Yeah, they either came in red or white. That was it. If you had the 500R, so that was the tricky thing about the XLs was Honda in the 70s and 80s. If they put the letter R after anything, that was not with which to be fucked.
And now it's RRR.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Right.
RRR. If you're a CBR 1000, RRR.
No, I love that
Yeah.
bike.
And it's a great bike. It really is.
And you know what?
Yeah.
That guy, Von Banken, really treated me like my dad.
Yeah, right. I mean, that guy got you into bikes. Yeah.
No, I mean, he was
Let it
cool.
out.
He's a cool
Let it
guy.
out.
He taught me how to climb rocks. He taught me, I mean, we sailed, we climbed
Right.
rocks. He was the coolest guy in the entire world.
Right.
Did he teach you about sex too?
No,
Okay, just asking.
no, I'm just saying that the
Yeah.
guy, I mean, it was nothing
He's a
like
You don't have
that.
to make
He's
it
a proper
weird,
guy.
man. You don't
I'm
have to
just
make
trying
it
to
weird.
make
He's a man's man.
Yeah.
Proper
No,
guy.
he
was a good dude.
He was, I mean, I went to his wedding, and
Right.
the wedding was awesome. His lot abutted his in-laws' lot.
Really?
You know, this was totally
And wait,
awesome.
his lot abutted his in-laws' lot, but they got married.
No, they got married.
So the two
his
families
wife's
joined up.
Parents lived on
Yeah.
a lot that he owned
Yeah.
that touched his lot. And at his wedding, they had a cauldron of food.
Could you show me on the lot where the man touched you?
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
What
I'm
is a
serious.
cauldron of
No.
food?
Cauldron
So-
of food.
No,
Yeah.
no, seriously. The food
Wiccans?
Yeah.
at the wedding
Yeah.
was made in a cauldron, like a witch's cauldron.
Wow.
I mean, it was
No shit.
actually a cauldron.
Wow.
Burned over a wood fire,
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
and his dad.
And then they
Von
summoned
Banken's dad, I sat
Mephistopheles.
at the table with Von Banken's dad.
Von Banken.
No, seriously. Von Banken's dad was awesome. And he called the mom over
Yeah.
and said, "This meal is fit for a king." Mm-hmm. Here, king.
Oh, he gave it to the dog.
Oh. No, so then we went into the garage and we decided to address the hammer,
Right.
which is holding a 16-pound
Right.
anvil.
Yeah.
I mean,
A hammer.
sledgehammer.
Right. 16-pound sledge.
Tilting it towards your nose.
Yes, you do. Yeah. 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 That's how it works.
And
I
if you
was the
don't
king
get
of that.
Did you ever do that?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure you did. I'm certain he did.
Motherfuckers think you're going to make you bust your nose. So they say, hey, I bet you can't take this fucking
No, it's
sledgehammer
called addressing the hammer.
Addressing the
and
hammer.
touch your nose with
And
it.
so
Yeah.
everybody at that fucking wedding had to address the hammer.
Oh, really?
How'd you do?
If you're a fucking
I made
twat,
it.
you
Look at
bust
my
your
nose.
nose.
It's not broken.
Yeah. It ain't fucking Milnor, man.
No,
This ain't- yeah.
at age
It's a real
16,
goddamn hammer.
17, when
Yeah.
I fucking addressed the hammer,
Yeah.
having worked on the fucking farm a little
Yeah.
bit and baled fucking hay and done all kinds of
And so you know addressing the hammer.
I could fucking touch the hammer to my fucking nose
All right.
and take it off.
Yeah.
And touch my fucking nose.
And it's
take
a
it off.
16-pound hammer. It's not a fucking
A
wimpy
full-blown
12
sledgehammer.
Yep. And there you go.
No, I wish it's
Give me
more
a mole.
sober to
I'll touch
really
my nose with it with the
address-
fucking blade side. Let's have a fucking full-blown Festivus fucking right now.
Goddamn straight up Festivus
Feats of
time.
strength.
Now hold on.
Leg wrestling.
Are you going to
You know
tap
what?
out?
And I must say,
Yes.
Don't tap
that
out.
man was
Yeah.
more like
Tappy
my
tap
dad
tap.
than my dad.
Well, that happens.
That happens.
That happens. Yeah, that happens.
Well,
And
good.
I also want
Congratulations.
to give a shout out to Ken Mack.
Ken Mack.
Jen Mac.
Please, everybody. Ken Mack made the person I am today.
Well done, Ken
You're
Mac.
here. Well done indeed. We've all benefited
Grumpy
from that.
sewer guy.
Well, we've all
No, he was a
benefited from that.
34 level mason,
Yeah.
Oh,
and he always wanted to kill Santa on Christmas Eve.
Or the Santa or any of his helpers.
No, the Santa on East 250, 254th. You know what?
The actual Santa.
That guy died in the shower.
Yeah.
And I love that guy.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, he was more like I'm
Like, again.
Van
What a wet way to
Banken
go.
and
You got-
Ken Mack.
Right. There you
I
have
think
it.
the only way to go is autoerotic asphyxiation.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
That,
he just
Okay.
died in the shower. So.
in excess.
I don't like it in excess, but by God, we'll give it a shot.
yeah, right.
Oscar,
Oscar.
goddammit,
Sorry,
Oscar.
Sorry,
Oscar.
Oscar.
It's really
Oscar.
hard to follow that though.
Oscar. I'm going to say
I'm a
Oscar.
loser. I'm a total
You-
fucking loser.
One, you're clearly
Steve,
you're
stop
clearly
it.
not a
No,
loser
you're not.
at all in this group.
One of us.
We love our
One of
I
us.
think your stable of motorcycles right now
Right.
clearly
Beats all
indicates
of
you were
them.
a
Way above
motherfucking
all of
winner.
us. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
The fact
Because-
that you have one monkey and you're considering a second one, and it's not a big deal. You're doing fine.
Yeah.
dude.
Right.
Congrats.
Why not have another cup?
You
Give us
pull
some
new
more-
motorcycles
give us
out of your
more
asshole
All right.
like nobody's business.
So,
All right,
just
so
for our
Oscar.
listeners,
We're 2/3 of the way.
I
around the
accidentally ended up in Mexico one time
Oh yeah.
because I have got good friends. And my friends are excellent. And one of my friends said, "You know what you should do? You should come down to Mexico with us." And I said, "That sounds like a great idea. I'll send James." And I sent James to Mexico.
Thank
and
you,
after
Chris.
James came back from Mexico, I said, "How was Mexico?" And James said, "Mexico was really fucking cool."
Yep.
And I was like, "Did you like Mexico?" He said, "It was great. Everybody was super cool to me." Because that year I meant to go, but something happened. I couldn't go. So
happened?
So James took my ticket. James took my place. And James said, "Everybody down in Mexico is crazy cool. You're going to have a good time."
Yep.
So you know what I did? I went to Mexico.
Sorry.
Oh, there we go. Thank you.
no.
Thank you, John.
Finish that bottle.
Thank you,
Thank
John.
you, Daniel.
Thank you, John Sawyer. John, I'd let you know the Weller went to a goddamn fine cause.
It did.
So there we go.
John.
And you're hearing the results of
John,
that right
no,
now.
cheers to John.
Here's to John. Cheers to
Cheers.
John. Thank you, John Sawyer.
Ole, ole,
Here,
ole,
John.
Vicente
for providing us with
Ole,
an evening of delight and deliciousness.
Thank you for Daniel for killing it.
Yep. So I met up with a bunch of normal people in San Diego, and we got together and we rode bikes down into Tijuana. And we got down in Tijuana. I'd never seen military in deuce and a halves driving around Tijuana with white wall tires.
White wall.
I shits down.
So
not.
I'm picturing a young Oscar kicking a ripped up soccer ball. And a,
Oh my God!
Now.
That was a long time ago.
And I got
the Federales come through, and some of them are mounted.
Oh, we've had several discussions with federal.
exactly. And so Oscar shows up among all these, like literally. There's a bunch of us. Myself, my first time in Mexico. And I don't know what to think of it. I have no what's going on. I've been in countries all over the world.
love
I've
you,
been to
Oscar.
different foreign weird places. But again, these are scooter people, right? So this is a whole different jam. And I'm not allowed to kill any of them. So I'm unarmed. I'm completely unarmed. The best thing I can do is activate a Bailey and aim him in that direction. And so all of these guys show up. And Oscar shows up right off the tick. And Oscar's riding a P200 that looks like it's been through the wars.
Oh, yeah. Crooked as hell.
Yep, exactly.
From Cuba.
And Oscar shows up, and it just immediately I knew, I was like, wow, there are some people here in this group that know exactly what's going on.
He's wearing the necklace of the ashes of the previous owner.
I was like, the second I met you, I was like, God damn it, this guy has got all of this under control. And I have none of this under control. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ride this borrowed motorcycle as fast as I can behind Oscar because he knows exactly where we're going at all times. And so when we left Tijuana and headed south, there were things that I've never seen before.
Oh, yeah.
There were zebras that shouldn't be there.
Zebra.
They were zonkies.
The zonkies.
It was a donkey painted like a zebra.
It's a thing. You can Google it. It's
You
a
can
zonkey.
Google it.
It exists.
I saw a tiger in a cage on the back of a micro truck,
We did.
and it wasn't a tiger. It was a white tiger. It was one of those fucking Siberian tigers in the back of
Coked up in the back.
seriously fucked up in the back of a Mazda Porter cab, like a little Japanese micro truck that shouldn't be anywhere except Japan. It was painted purple, had the Mexican version of seriously. Remember the guys in Vegas got their faces bit off by tigers?
Siegfried and Roy, yeah.
So apparently they had Mexican cousins. And those Mexican cousins painted everything purple and gold. And they had white tigers in cages.
Purple is the color of royalty.
And Oscar was like, if you pull up close enough, you can pet them.
Go at it.
Go at it. You're in Mexico. Have a good time.
I want to go to that place you said where you could pee off the side of the mountain.
Okay,
Oh,
that was
that's
Ocho Ocho.
Cuatro.
Quattro Quattro.
Close enough. Half of that.
I want to go there. I want to pee off the side of a
I
mountain.
love that we're still getting corrected over it. Ocho Ocho. Quattro Quattro.
Close enough. Half of that.
You have to, the road is so bad, you have to leave your motorcycles there, and you can only approach it in a 4x4 Dodge.
I don't know if
I
our
don't really
listeners...
care, but I want to drink.
I was
wanna
peeing
pee
while I
in
was
the
looking
ocean.
at the
sunset,
ocean.
yep.
The sunset was amazing. They brought me a blanket and a fire.
Our listeners
Yeah.
could appreciate the smell of this podcast.
Oh, it smells really good,
because
actually.
it's in between bourbon
and mead.
and cat
Yeah.
food. The fucking Braunschweiger
Braunschweiger.
mixed with the bourbon
Some honey.
and the
It
mead
does smell
and the
good,
farts and the fucking cigar.
Good.
I haven't farted yet.
It's
we're safe.
really something.
Okay,
to
so, Oscar, where do you come from, son?
Please give me a
We're toasting again?
here.
Oh, that's how I can tell we've been drinking.
Yep, he's toasting. Everybody's all right.
Mexico, Uber alles, Uber alles.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. So I was born and raised in Mexico, 1976.
76. That's the spirit.
And
So
I
that's
haven't
where
been-
you people come from.
Yeah, you people.
People.
Are we going to go about this by like
We're in
wives?
Mexico.
Oh no.
Are we going to do
That's-
first
that's-
wives, second wives,
Jeez. I can break it down like that way.
or are we going to go by bikes?
Probably bikes.
Yeah,
Let's do bikes.
Yeah, let's do bikes.
You know what?
So have you
First
always
bike.
have you always lived in Tijuana?
Always lived in Tijuana up until I moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 5 years ago. So all of my history is in TJ.
Yeah.
So I lived there all my life.
beautiful. I didn't know
Yeah, yeah. There's beaches and stuff,
I
and
had
you have
no idea. So you American listeners who are listening to this will think of Tijuana as a place where Marines go to get in trouble.
When you say beaches,
as they do.
do you mean like women, or do you mean
Beaches.
like sandy
No,
beaches?
sandy
No, it's-
beaches.
Okay,
Tijuana's
beaches.
gorgeous.
Okay.
And
Like,
that too.
that's what you're
got
doing?
both.
That'd be
both.
salty beaches. That's
Oscar took us around Tijuana, and what I can say is Tijuana, when you just go into Tijuana from San Diego
Proper,
as a drunk would
border,
do,
yep.
you understand why they need to have the military down there because it becomes a receptacle for drunk American soldiers.
Right.
If you're going to Tijuana, you need an Oscar.
You do.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
A Bailey will do in a pinch.
So if you drive through the border, you don't get funneled into that area. But if you walk across the border, which most people from the States that are
Right.
planning on doing that, they get funneled into the dodgy district.
Yeah, they do. Straight ahead.
Of TJ. So that's
If you're walking in on foot, you're going to end up in a bad neighborhood.
The shit show.
Right. But
that's what they're going there for.
Yeah, Oscar dragged us up into the hills. So we went up into the property in the elevation. Yeah. So I was joking. I was like, Tijuana Heights. And it is Tijuana Heights. It's gorgeous. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Take the high ground.
Beach views.
Oh,
and
it's
stuff,
gorgeous. The houses are amazing.
Yeah.
And I got to have an appreciation for. We kept meeting people. So every time we'd meet somebody, I had no idea whether you guys had known them for 20 years or it was just TJ being amazing.
I think it's more of the Mexican culture, just embracing everybody that's just coming in. I mean, some of us, actually, probably by the time I met you, it was probably my second rally, and I just felt like family.
Yeah.
With everybody from the Jedis, from Denver, Detroit, and from all over, it just feels at home.
I have a quick question.
Yeah,
so were you part of a scooter club in Mexico? Like, is there a Tijuana?
Well, I didn't start directly into the club. I started with and I know it doesn't have a lot of street cred, so I started with a Suzuki Katana 600. I know.
Can it too?
The Hall of Shame.
Show me on the motorcycle where the man touched you.
That's just me here.
There's no shame on a bike.
No, and actually, I love that bike. I mean, it was a 94. It was a red with like the purple rims. They were kind of dodgy, but
I know that bike.
But just in general, I mean, I was way skinnier than I am right now, but I rode that bike.
Well, you're very
like
slow.
the slimmest dude in the whole.
No, but dude, I was way skinnier, and I rode that bike like I stole it.
Maybe Daniel.
I even got that bike to like 135 miles an hour. I was riding it like I stole it.
Say it again.
And that was my first. My first bike. So I didn't get the memo of the midlife crisis. So I started high CCs and then just went down the hill.
My first arrest and bike tow was because of a Katana.
Really?
I had a Gixxer 750 and a Katana called me out and I beat the fuck out of it.
Yep.
But we also got roadblocked and arrested and towed and all kinds of bad things. Oh yeah, 100%.
You know, I just I don't want to sidebar your discussion, but I've done two of the Craigslist search that I have done was CBR and Katana.
Yeah.
And there is very little out there, or at least right now,
Still,
for CBRs and Katanas. So
they're coming back.
They might be getting
a
little bit thin on the ground. They may have finally got all ground up and sent to the fucking boneyard to the point where finding a Katana or an old CBR 600 or 1000 might not be so easy anymore.
So even by the time I got that bike, I bought it that one at 98. But by then I was already playing in a ska band. Since 94 to like 97, saxophone.
Playing what? A saxophone? A saxophone?
I play saxophone too.
So saxophone and ska band and
alto or tenor?
Alto.
God damn, dude.
E flat, bitches. B flat's where it's at. Play a tenor or go home.
I'm telling you, man. Cleveland Moto Podcast Band's gonna happen someday.
B flat,
big pipes. Yeah. So I mean.
Yeah.
Ska bands, you have to have a Vespa.
Ska bands.
I always wanted that, but I mean, in the uni, you have no fucking cash.
It's literally,
you can't buy anything. That's reality. I mean, just never bought it, but I always had my heart was in the Vespa all the time. So by the time I actually graduated from uni and then started working in Tecate, 2004, I was able to find a Vespa. Yeah. And now that you mentioned about the dead guy, I bought it of the son of a guy that just passed away.
Oh, really?
So my first, the P200 sold crooked, the red one, I bought it of a guy in Mexicali.
Wait a second. Do the podcast listeners know that your P200 is actually crooked?
Yes, it's not crooked because it does have a title.
It's just not straight.
It's not
the
straight
front wheel
because
and the back wheel don't point in the right direction.
Right, and that's because I had an accident, but that's a couple of years after the fact. But yes, it is. It literally is crooked. The rear tire is
Oscar's
kind of
not
sideways.
kidding you. The rear tire and the front tire are not pointing
not
the
even,
same
not
direction.
Not even close.
It's like any Nova that I ever.
And Oscar drives it like it owes him money.
It's a free Vespa at that point.
Well,
right?
no, I've never. You don't ever want to try to follow Oscar through Mexico
because you're gonna point at the tires like, oh, he's definitely making a left. No, I'm going straight. No, I'm going straight. Yeah, so I bought that guy that bike, my first Vespa from that guy, and then I even got the helmet from his deceased dad.
Nice.
That was my first helmet.
Oh.
Nice. Rough. I still have it. Actually,
Did you smell it?
I still have it back home. No, I did not smell it. I'll probably try it next year, but I still have the helmet.
All right.
And then one of those days that I was just driving through the city and I saw one of the guys, actually a group of 5-6 Vespas coming back from Ensenada, from the previous rally, and I was like, these are my people.
Yeah, they are.
So I kind of made a U and just went and tried to catch up with those guys, and that's why I started listening about the scooter, the club in TJ with Maxima Velocidad, which it's been disbanded, but it's dodgy. They're still trying to do some shit, which is not shenanigans. It doesn't doesn't exist anymore, but.
The one thing about the Mexico rallies, the idea is you're like, oh, we're going to run down to Mexico. It's going to be fine. But then invariably you're like, oh, wait, I can buy actually a gallon of tequila. Oh, yeah. Almond flavored, delicious, ridiculous tequila for an impossible price, like $1. $2, $3.
Yeah, that's pretty cheap.
And then we stop and buy fireworks. And the Mexicans, when we buy fireworks, the Mexicans are like, take the price tags off of everything. Yeah. We're gonna rip off the Americans. And the Americans are like, I want all of your fireworks. Well,
M80s, M1000s, like everything.
How many Roman candles do you want?
All of them.
No. We're buying everything in the store. So just empty the store onto our scooters, and we're going to leave and shoot them at each other. Which is exactly what we do.
Everywhere.
And the irony is we go down to pristine, beautiful, amazing beaches.
And blow it up.
On the Pacific coast of Baja California, right?
Is it Baja California or is it Mexico?
Baja. No, it's
so Baja is a weird thing. So you're in Mexico, but the California Baja California,
it smears into Mexico.
It's Mexico,
it's
right?
a smear.
So that's that name, and because the Mexicans were there first, they get naming rights.
Yeah.
So these are the Native Americans that you have to respect because they're still there. And so when you're down in Baja, there is that weird thing about Baja. Like, everyone's like, aren't you worried about going down to Mexico because of the drug culture? Dude, we're in Baja. Yeah. It's a motorcycle culture.
That's why I'm going to Mexico.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but those rallies are really good. And the first one that I started was number 3.
Yeah.
We finished it at, 8 or 9-ish?
Yep.
Those were camping on the beach.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, like buying a bunch of fireworks.
Yeah.
Amazing food.
Yeah.
Shout out to Pancho.
It is truly one of these things where all of the friends that you meet when you're on a Mexico trip, including Oscar, every one of these Mexican trips I go to, I meet somebody new who's better at making Mexico awesome.
Yeah.
And so that's why we do always tell people, if you have an opportunity to explore a different culture, if you have an opportunity to take a ride somewhere you've never been before, do it. Yeah. Because the dude
don't listen to the news that tells you not to do it.
Oh my God.
Right?
That's good.
My neighbors, my mom, they were terrified that I was going to Mexico for a ride. And then I meet all these Mexicans who are my favorite people in the world.
Right.
And everybody I've ever met from the Mexico City Club and everybody from TJ and everybody
San
from
Diego and everybody.
They're fantastic. Yeah. These guys are all great humans. And that's where you say, let the motorcycling, let the riding be first. Yep. And let the politics don't ever enter into it.
Fuck the politics.
I know.
But it's so
Can you speak a little bit to what some of the Spanish women on these rides might
Oh, hold on. Now, John, this is the weird thing. So a couple of years ago, a few years ago, I'm on this ride.
I'm not trying to be pervy.
And a couple of my friends roaming around, they're like, oh, yeah, Oscar, the romantic Hispanic.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, yeah, thanks. And so we're like, okay. So immediately I blow it off. I think that's some weird ironic name or what have you. So the second or third year that I'm down in Mexico, I'm riding, again, I'm always riding somebody else's bike because I'm in Mexico. Somebody's been nice enough to loan me a bike.
Yeah, right.
So I'm riding a bike, and we pull up into a gas station. The XO for Infinity. So we're pulling up into this gas station, and there's maybe 75 of us or 80 of us.
That's a good number.
Yeah, and we pull in there, a lot of people on bikes. We pull in, and out of nowhere, this car pulls up, and this chick yells out of the window, Oscar! And I'm like,
oh, fuck, I forgot about that.
and I'm like, what the shit was that just happened?
Yeah.
And then I look over, and there's this beautiful young woman hanging out of the car window yelling, Oscar!
I suspect
and I go,
this much.
what the fuck? And I see Oscar
random, yeah.
go over. And he takes off his $1 million helmet with a rear view in it. Like he's got one of those rear view looks over your shoulder helmets and shit.
Over the shoulder boulder holder.
Yeah, so he takes off his helmet. He looks like a, starfighter or whatever. He takes it off and he goes over and talks to these young ladies. And I look at my friends and I'm like, Oscar knows those chicks.
Yeah. Honey,
and it's not Ann chick. It's Ann car full of chicks.
Honey, I'm on a ride right now.
It's a car full of chicks.
You're going to have to just wait, okay?
And Oscar's just, hey, what's going on? Yeah, it's cool. And we are standing back just going, what the shit did we just get into? He smoothed over the Mexican federales for us. He smoothed over the Mexican police for us. He smoothed over the Mexican military for us. Yeah. When people we know should have gone to goddamn jail for weapons violations.
Yes, they should.
And on the front of their motorcycle?
Somebody may have ordained their bike with barrels.
My God. And Oscar just stepped up, balls as big as church bells, and talked to a guy who had more brass on his fucking collar.
Oh, he has the most lovely.
They were outranking the ranking.
Yes,
yeah,
I love
like
it how
guys
guys kept coming over with more shit because Mexican Army's not like the American Army. The American Army is like everything's subdued. If you want to see somebody's rank, you got to like hold them in a certain light because American military always hides their rank because they shoot officers in open ground. So like an officer in the military is like you don't know. You're not allowed to salute him. But Mexican officers are like, they got a fucking... Yeah, they got flair.
There's a pile of metal.
Oh, my God, yeah.
There's a pile of medals and some...
Oh, it's ridiculous. So, like, the first guy that came up and talked to our person who was proceeded to get a stupid ticket.
Reamed.
Yeah. The first team that did it was all, like, the grunts.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden came the lieutenants. Yep. And then came the captains. And then came the goddamn generals. And then we actually got to the point where it was the guy who ran the fucking post was talking to Oscar. And Oscar is talking to the man who runs this entire goddamn military checkpoint. Yep. And Oscar's telling the guy, chill out, honey bunny.
Just
be cool.
Bitch, be cool.
Bitch, be cool.
Why? I want to be there with you.
I know. It was a lot of fun, though.
And honestly, we were all hanging back going like, if Oscar doesn't get shot, we are going to worship Oscar for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, and we have a shit ton of pictures of that shit. So
yes, we do. Yeah. Because we were there for over an hour.
Wow.
And
because
Oscar,
everybody's helping him out and being very subdued and minding their own business.
We were hanging
and not
back.
taking pictures.
No. They were definitely taking pictures like, cool that shit off, man. You're not helping me. They were like, doing the selfie shit with the fucking barrel and the military in the background.
You're not obnoxious Americans in any way.
It was bad.
Oscar walked up to this guy, and I don't know how the fuck he did it, but Oscar had a full-on chat with a guy who had no... I mean, look,
I'm stuck with these fucking Americans.
I know. They all
Go ahead and shoot a couple.
I understand if you got to take them to jail, but don't fuck me over, okay?
Go ahead and shoot the little guy.
Wait, he's totally idolizing him. Meanwhile, he was like, "Fuck the Americans. If we have to,
just get me the fuck out of here."
Why are you fucking with me? That guy's got all the cocaine. Okay. Everything, as we pulled up, again, we had separated away from the big group.
Yeah, we did.
So in the big group, you have numbers, right? Yeah. You fuck with one tuna, you get the whole school. But in this case, we had
5 or 6 bikes.
There were maybe 5 or 6 of us. We'd gotten super separated. So when the girl who wasn't, she didn't want to ride with the pack. She wanted to be like first. So she was hauling super ass, but hauling super ass with some machine gun parts on her motor scooter. And so she had M240 machine gun barrels literally hastily affixed to her bike with a gas mask on the front. It was steampunk as fuck. Yep. Like this shit was straight up like Umbrella City. Like it was cool. It was badass as fuck. But the Mexicans... This was a very much post-apocalyptic scooter job, right? Yeah. This was rad. But the Mexicans have no fucking... They don't care about what you're doing once American guns get involved. Because American guns kill a lot of Mexicans, right?
And that's the only reason why they have the checkpoints.
Yes,
it's just drugs and guns.
Drugs and guns.
That's the only thing they care
So when you show up with...
If that doesn't
but marijuana doesn't count, right?
No,
it does
this chick showed up with 60% of a machine gun.
Right.
Bolted to her scooter. So immediately the Mexicans are like, where's the other 40%? Right? So the Mexicans were like, the Mexican military was like, look,
Yep.
She's trying to get through with 60% of 2 machine guns. Where's the other 40%? And that's a righteous beef that they have.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. But Oscar jumps in and Oscar goes, you don't understand.
Bring it in.
She likes attention.
Yes, she did.
And
Does.
we're all cool. So, like, we're good guys. We all have a good time. Oscar saved our bacon.
Yeah.
He did. And, like, people didn't go to jail that day.
No.
Because you...
They only lost the barrels. That was the only thing
Okay,
that
yeah.
I actually even tried to rescue
Yes,
those
you
fucking
did.
barrels,
Yeah,
but
you
they
did.
was like, okay, fine, keep the fucking
Oscar,
barrels.
I was watching Oscar have a negotiation. It was like, okay, I know you want to fuck all of us.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, can I, like, just give you all the machine gun parts? And then later on, I'll pick the machine gun parts up later
Right.
once nobody's looking. And the guy was like, we're going to have the machine gun parts.
I was like, fine. All right, keep the fucking machine part, because, all right, guys, let's get
fact
the
that
fuck
you
out of here.
negotiated with a one-star
I know,
Mexican
yeah.
general was impressive
It
as
was
shit.
badass. It was
cool.
really good.
It was badass. And everybody at that point was like, there are a little group of people.
Yeah.
We're all pretty big egos. And we're all sitting back there going, Oscar is dealing with his shit.
No, Oscar is God.
Yeah, he
Actually,
really
that,
is.
that wasn't a short ride. That was almost like 300 miles
Yeah.
each way.
Oh, yeah.
And it was Merritt was also there. It was both.
Everybody
of them.
ran out
Yeah.
of gas twice.
Yeah. Yes, we did.
If I didn't have a BV350, which has a largest gas tank on the planet, I ran up and got gas and came back.
Yep.
And then everybody ran out again, and I ran
And
up and
we
got gas
crossed
again.
some areas where the Baja 500
Yeah.
actually crosses,
Yeah.
and that's when
Oh my God!
the wind
Tell
was
him.
so harsh that my bike at that point was already crooked, and the winds were blowing like super sketchy, and my tires were barely just touching the floor because it was so windy.
That's crabbing.
seriously,
It's
you were
crabbing.
Yeah, it was pushing us really hard sideways,
Yeah, we had a crosswind
and it
like
was
nobody's
like,
business.
yeah, it was
We
really
were
bad.
ripping along across the desert.
Yeah.
and we're moving.
So we're crossing Baja side to side.
Yeah, side to
So that's
side.
pretty much what it is.
Yeah, and we're blasting along, and we're like, we are having an amazing time. We are one with Baja. We are getting the true Baja experience. There's nothing but sand.
And there's some rhinos like
Yeah.
going sideways. With,
yeah, it was
behind us,
so
yeah.
cool.
Wait.
Not rhinos, the animals, but the actual the
Yeah,
quads.
So as
Yeah.
we're
okay.
ripping
Yeah.
along, and we think we are gods of the desert, then Baja 1000 vehicles
Yep.
start going, "You're in our way," and we started getting past.
crossing sideways. Yeah.
They were literally going. We had accidentally entered the Baja 1000.
You're in a $10,000 Rhino.
Yeah. Like fucking scooters.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and that's what it was.
Fucking scooters.
And it wasn't like there were one of them.
No, there were several
were
of them.
dozens of them, and we had a pack of high-speed bikes. And when I say high-speed bikes, I'm saying like we were clipping along at 60 miles an hour
Yeah, pretty much.
in rough terrain, like rough roads.
Yeah.
And all of a
They
sudden,
were dirt.
Yeah.
it's a road under dirt.
Yeah.
So it's a
everything else,
sand,
yeah.
and then there's like asphalt that somebody put down 78 years ago,
And then sand.
and then
everywhere.
sand. Yeah. And so that's what you're clipping along on. And you're moving good because the Mexicans, like the weirdest thing is Mexicans and San Diegans all drive at all the speed all
Like
the
we stole
time.
them. Yeah.
What the fuck,
All the
man?
speeds.
Oh,
Fucking
I've
A.
never been more scared than I've been riding with like girls on Vespas in San Diego,
now, if
Mexico.
you're scared,
Yeah.
then I would be like a 12-year-old girl.
Both Phil and Emmy were fucking scared the
Yeah.
time we rode around the hills,
Yeah.
the twisties with no guardrails,
Yeah.
just going.
And we
between
were
the
both
lanes and
riding
stuff.
straight up legit sport bikes, you know,
Yeah.
TT600, CB1, CBR 400. Like we're riding on sport bikes. These cats are on Vespas.
200s.
And every time we go around a corner, they're scraping. Every time the road, there's a pothole or something, we just see sparks coming off the back of the bikes.
There's Vespa cheeks flying off.
It's the funnest, dude. And
So, are you a god?
no, Oscar's crazy.
He has two Facebooks. He has the one we know, and then he has the fucking
Hispanic.
You don't even know.
Where people are like, Oscar, I was going to use your name in a story. Can I? Like,
Now, wait, hold on. Now, but what Oscar should tell us is, do you still have a house in TJ?
I do. Actually, that's so. When I sold my Katana 600,
Yeah.
it was when I actually went and bought my house down there. So I
Right.
still have my house. I still have my P200 down there.
Right.
I think I have a Lammy in pieces because you kind of have to.
Because it happened.
You have to have a bike in pieces.
You do end up with a Lambretta.
And the other bike that I built when I was down there was the Allstate.
Allstate.
1958 Allstate,
Right.
which I still love that fucking
Which
bike.
is one of the things, like, so.
No, all states Lambrettas? Or
No.
They're
Vespa
They're
Allstate.
Vespas.
Vespa Allstate.
Well,
yeah.
here's the thing about what Oscar doesn't tell, and what he should lay it on a little thicker, because his Allstate is so fucking old.
How old
is it?
Okay. His Allstate is so fucking old that Vespas weren't even imported into America yet.
They weren't called Vespas.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Sears Roebuck had brought a Vespa scooter into America before Vespa had ever thought it was a good idea.
And rebadged them. Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
And they badged them as Allstates. And they're super crazy
cool,
rare.
yeah.
And that's what Oscar has as a daily rider.
Well, that's the blue one that I usually
the
take
blue
out to
one,
the
yeah.
to the DGR. Yeah.
And so it's one thing to have a 60s Vespa. I've got plenty of 60s Vespas. But his bike is crazy old. Like,
And I think it's
Americans don't see bikes
I think
that
it's the
old.
first year that they
Yeah,
changed
well.
from the wide frame
Yeah.
with the handlebars
Yep.
to the just
to an actual real
actual
Vespa
rides, yeah.
chassis. And his bike is consistently, I mean, when we're talking about you ride up on a 66 Super Hawk, you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. I got a 66 Super Hawk. Oscar's like, yeah.
Yeah.
My bike was
got
already
this.
used
Yeah.
by then.
Yeah. Can I be a blocker? I
That
got
bike
this.
actually
I
moves
got
out
this.
too. That's the one.
Well,
you've
that's
ridden
the-
in
Yeah, so
DGR?
it's the original motor was a 125.
Yeah.
Which I still have back home, but I kind of tweaked it a little bit. So it has
Massaged.
it's a PX 150 with a 177.
Yeah, with a 177 kit.
Poloni, yeah.
So his
Fuck a
1958.
Bellini.
Oh yeah, I've done like
Yeah.
like 65 miles an
Oh, yeah.
hour on that one, which in the front it doesn't have any damper or any suspension. It's just a spring.
It's and spring.
It's just you can bounce it up around. It just
It's a pogo.
swings. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a pogo. I'm
Yeah.
doing 65 miles
And-
an hour, which is bonkers.
And again, every time I've ridden with Oscar, Oscar only knows off and on. That's
yeah,
it.
that's what I was talking with
Yeah.
Johnny Mack and the earlier today. I really missed like popping
Hero
wheels and all that
status.
shit.
Yeah, right
man.
on, man. Yeah.
God, the juice.
So, I mean, that's one of the great things. We joke about the podcast being a group of similarly like-minded nincompoops and idiots. Well, no, we're actually people that have an appreciation for weird stuff.
Yeah.
And we do. Like,
and it's a big family. I mean,
it is a
I've-
big family.
So you were
Yeah.
asking about the club. So I started with the Maxima Velocidad, and then when I
Wait.
Maxima Velocidad
Fastest possible,
Velocity.
maximum speed.
Velocity.
Velocity.
Yeah. Maximum.
Then I was a
Velocidad.
honorary Pharaoh,
Yes, you were.
friend of a Pharaoh. Have another
friend of
patch for
Pharaoh's.
that.
Yep.
And then when the
That's San Diego Club.
the San Diego Club, right?
Right.
And then when the Maxima Velocidad got disbanded,
Mm-hmm.
got destroyed, I'm officially a heat seized from
Yes,
Vegas.
that's right,
So I
Vegas.
got repatched by the club in Vegas because I used to go there every time.
You're a bad motherfucker.
And then there was
He's a
the
bad
whole
one.
Sam Crow episode that we can't talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we can't talk about.
And it's a funny thing because he's also Oscar because the Jedis have completely adopted. He's not patched in yet, and it's a weird thing with the Jedis.
When I went to Denver, I've been there.
I feel like
Couple times.
The
Yeah,
Jedi's
at
wish
least,
he was
yeah.
a Jedi.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
work, I've been a couple times
Yeah.
in Denver, and actually have the magnet for the Rebel. I'm
Right.
a Rebel Alliance.
yeah, right, yeah.
So I'm not an official Jedi.
The
but I'm a
Jedi Knight
Rebel-
Scooter
Rebel
Club is a
Alliance.
weird thing.
I feel like Porcos has to be like involved.
It is.
Yes,
So it is.
there is,
because,
yeah.
So in Cleveland, Stefan and Kurt Kuzno and myself, we are the Jedis.
Jedi, yeah.
So we're Jedi Knights. And the Jedi Knight Scooter Club means that first things first, you have got to build your own scooter.
I got
I
this
want to be a
thing.
Jedi.
You have to build your own scooter.
I don't know if
What
you
you
guys
have?
know this about me,
Is my
but I'm a hardcore
C70
Empire
a
guy.
scooter?
Well, we had those. They were called
Gold C70.
Stormtroopers.
I love
and I
that
started that
consider-
club.
Long live the fucking Empire.
Well, we did that for a while, and actually, the Jedi's,
yeah.
the Stormtroopers, lost me in a
Oh,
in a
yeah.
battle. So there was a battle that happened at the at a Niagara Rally, and I actually was lost. I used to be a Stormtrooper. I used to be in the Empire. Actually, I was one of the people that
Okay.
started. I started the Stormtrooper Scooter Club,
yes.
and I defected to the Jedi.
Yeah, the dark side's
Proper.
really where it's at.
Well, it used to be.
And if you watch any Star Wars right now,
I did.
Yeah.
I think you'll agree when Rey goes to the dark side, That's when things are going to get
Well,
Can we go to
Stop your
Porco's tonight?
face. I haven't seen all
go
the
to
movies yet,
Porco's tonight?
motherfucker.
okay, but anyway.
That's not a spoiler. That's not a
Can we
spoiler.
go to Porco's tonight?
No, well, we can.
10
I mean,
o'clock,
hey,
it's not that bad.
it's not that early. It's not that late. So now, Oscar, due to his job, has moved up to Milwaukee.
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 And then
2015.
at some point,
I want to be a Jedi.
so at some point, well, we'll work
Steve,
on
we're
that
not going
later.
to have time for you.
At some point,
I got
his job with Rockwell said,
Yep.
Palpatine.
you can go to, I think, what do they give you? Paradiso or?
No, they either Monterey,
Monterey?
back to Tecate, or Cleveland, Ohio.
Right. Wait a second. Seriously, his job came to him and said he could have Monterey,
Mexico, yeah.
which is in Mexico, not the Monterey in California.
No.
It's Monterey, Mexico. You could have Tecate,
Tecate back
which is
where it
where you
was,
come
where it
from,
was, yep.
right? And or Cleveland,
Cleveland,
Ohio.
Ohio.
Well, I'm glad
I'm glad you had a
you chose.
concussion.
You know what? I'm glad you chose Cleveland because I love you.
And
I
yes,
love you, Oscar. I seriously do.
And this is what's funny is because he was in Milwaukee for over a year.
Yeah, a couple of years,
Yeah, so he was in Milwaukee. He ended up his first day in Milwaukee was in a blizzard that couldn't be
God.
beat.
Yeah, that was
He's a Mexican guy, and he shows up.
That was the worst blizzard in so many years. The first weekend I was there, I flew in I think on a Friday. I started working on Monday. They had 2 feet of snow over the fucking weekend that they've never seen in such a long time, and I had to shovel that shit to get my car out of the garage.
Had you ever seen snow?
Only on vacation.
Oh, yeah, right. Only on vacation, never actually trickling down, no flurries or any of that shit. I did have a snowblower in the garage, obviously in front of my fucking car. So I had to shovel that crap to get the car out.
Why'd you have to shovel it out if you had a snowblower in front of your car?
Because I couldn't get it out of the fucking garage, man. Because it was in front of my,
pinned in.
it was in front of my car.
So one of my favorite moments ever is when Oscar called and he's like, well, so they're offering me Cleveland. And I was like, oh my God, you have to come to Cleveland.
Yes, you have.
I'm to Cleveland, Oscar, because
You
I
have to
love
come to
you.
Cleveland.
Well, this is family, and that's why I even told the people at work, I was like, just let you know, I knew there was there's 2 spots here in Cleveland that are part of the company, and I told them, you know what, I know some people over there. If there's ever an opening, just let me know.
Yeah.
And after 2 years, they were like, giddy up, son.
And all of his friends in
Yes.
Mexico, everybody in Mexico is so concerned. They're like, oh my God, are you going to take care of Oscar? And I'm like,
with you?
yeah, we're going to take care of Oscar. And it was like, Oscar takes care of us. So, like, the only reason I went to Isle of Man was because
Plus,
of
we would
Oscar.
never let anything happen to Oscar.
Well, look, Oscar has been truly my greatest, like, you know, we should totally do that.
I was like, I'm on it.
Let's
do this.
So I would have never gone to Isle of
this
Man
year,
if it wasn't
you
for
have to
Oscar.
admit, this year's been nothing.
It's been awesome.
It's gonna. It's
Yeah.
gonna.
And this year, our schedule this year is insane.
Last year was kind of slow,
Yeah.
kind of a downer. This
Not
is my
this year.
No,
This
this
year's
is my
game
year.
on.
Got a game on. Yeah.
All right, so Steve,
Yep.
And to my
Last
left.
but not
Last but absolutely not least.
We got 3 minutes left, Steve. So
So rev this puppy up. man.
How can I follow?
I pay for the Buzzsprout. I pay for the feed. It's go.
How can I follow Oscar?
No, that's
All right, so just okay.
Okay, so,
so-
let's explain how your hip got replaced.
Well, okay.
one time at band
So
camp.
I wanted a motorcycle ever since I was like 5 years old. My mom and dad were never
Take
having
us all
it.
the way back.
All the way back.
Day one,
Hold
motorcycle
on.
one.
When were you
So,
born? He was born in
1971.
76.
Yeah. 71.
71.
Oh, you're a baby.
Me and John, same, right?
Right.
May 2nd, 1971. So by the time I was 5 or 6 or 7,
Pisces.
I wanted a dirt bike.
Pisces.
I wanted the dirt bike so fucking bad, and RM80 was the dirt bike.
Yes, it was.
Suzuki
The Suzuki
RM80.
RM80. Yep.
I had all the magazines, I had everything. It got so bad that like on Christmas sometimes I would like I didn't care about anything. I would wake up and I would have a dream that I got the RM80 and I'd run into the garage and I'd open the door and there'd be nothing there. And then I'd go to the presents and I'd be like, I don't want any of this fucking stuff. Like, where's my fucking bike?
I don't want an AFX slot car track.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So finally,
I'll take it.
by the time I was 10 or 11 or 12 or something like that, I started cutting people's lawns and I saved some money. And so when I was 13, I bought a Tomos 2-speed.
Oh.
All right.
Okay,
and so when I was
all right.
the day I turned 14, I got my license, and in 1 year, I put 22,000 miles on a Tomos 2-speed.
Holy shit.
Yep.
Yeah,
I rode
dude.
that fucker
22,000 miles.
22,000 miles. I rode that fucker everywhere,
Apparently,
dude.
he didn't have a television.
Nope.
Sorry.
He had no. He had no idea.
That's all I did.
He had no idea.
did,
He had
dude.
no idea what was going on in different strokes. He
Nope,
had no
nothing.
idea.
right?
Every
That's all dogs
day
need.
after I rode it to school, I rode it home, I rode it everywhere.
beer,
I run on
too.
weekend trips. I rode that fucking thing everywhere.
Attaboy.
And I still asked for a motorcycle. They said no forever. And then one of my buddies had a Trizinger 125 that broke, and he gave it to me, so I fixed it. So then I destroyed my parents' yard with that for a year, from about 17, whatever.
Cheap
and then
landscaping.
I did more landscaping and worked and worked and worked. So in 1989, my senior year of high school, I bought a 1987 Honda Hurricane with no actual motorcycle riding experience.
Well,
I bought it off of somebody that was there. And
a 600?
600. The Hurricanes, the red and white,
Yeah,
600. And
Again, not one listed on Craigslist right now.
no,
Getting
you-
harder to find.
No, totally.
was it
harder.
red and white or was it white and red?
It was white with the red and things.
Thousands are easier to find than the
And
600.
and I rode the hell out of this thing, and I got a couple of my buddies into it. So we were like the gang that rode to our senior year on motorcycles with
Really?
helmets, and we couldn't put our helmets in the locker because they wouldn't fit.
No.
So we had to take them to all the classes, which just all told all the girls like, "Hey, these guys ride motorcycles." So that didn't suck. But
Yeah, but you
so I also worked at this place called Fun and Stuff, which had golf carts. I was
Golf
the
carts,
go karts.
Go-karts.
So I
I
was
know
the go
Fun-
kart manager. I was riding that
Wait.
It was the go-kart manager for fun and stuff.
in Twinsburg.
Fun and stuff.
Fun and
Twinsburg,
stuff.
yeah. So
Fun and stuff.
But so I had my first motorcycle accident in that parking lot because I was coming to work on my bike, and this lady pulled out right in front of me, and I hit all the brakes all at once, and then I dumped it over. And so then I had scratches on my Pride and Joy, so I put stickers on it.
Oh, yeah.
As you do.
You had no fear stickers.
Yep.
Those
And
are
so-
actually called
No fear
Band-Aids.
stickers.
Band-Aids.
If you had a CBR, you had no fear stickers on the side of that shit.
So later
chicken.
on in the year, my buddy who had a lesser bike than me offered to buy my bike for more than I paid for it, and I said sure, and I sold it, and I bought a Gixxer 750.
Jigsaw.
I had a
really?
1988 Gixxer 750
Wait,
in
you said
1989.
Jigsaw.
Gixxer,
Yeah.
right.
A 1-year-old Gixxer.
So
Yeah,
to,
that was a brand
to
new.
what you were talking about with your Katana, there was,
Was
a
it the
thing-
blue and white or the white and blue?
It was the white, blue, and light blue.
Yeah.
So that. So I used to go to this place called Tinkers Creek Park, and every Saturday morning there'd be like 100 sport
Oh,
bikes,
yeah.
and everybody polishing them, and girls would drive by and be like,
Tinkers
"Ooh, what's
Creek
up?"
is notorious for that.
Right. So I was down there, and this guy in a Katana is like, "Your bike sucks," and I'm like, "Your bike's Kmart," and we fucking argued. And went back and
Bike's
forth.
Kmart.
And so we decided to race.
Yep.
And unbeknownst to us, there was a guy on a horse in the woods writing everybody's license plate numbers down and all this shit and stuff, and watching
Fuck
us.
that faggot.
So we took off through the park, and I hit 137 miles an hour. And this, I don't know that, but
Oh, yeah.
they told me that.
They told
later
you
on.
that later on.
I
in
ran,
court.
All right, I ran 6 stoplights, and so when we got to the end by Bedford,
Right.
there was 3 cop cars blocking the road.
Yeah.
And the dude on the Katana actually slid through the grass and slid past him, and I stopped.
What?
And I was kind of pissed, right?
Holy
And so
shit.
as soon as the cops came up, they're like, "Don't worry about him. We have cops at both your houses at this point." And I was like, "Oh." So I got I got drag racing, fleeing and evading,
looting.
resisting arrest,
Reckless
7
op.
stop
Wait,
signs, reckless op.
How'd you get fleeing and evading if you stopped?
Because there were cops behind us when
Right.
we were racing. We didn't even
Because they
see 'em.
stopped eventually.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
stopped
That's
because of whatever.
bullshit.
I agree.
But here's the best part. So then the tow truck shows up, and they took my bike and they put straps to the back wheels and let it hung upside down
Yeah.
as it drove away, smashing into
Smashing
everything.
into stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
like a pendulum.
So I lost my license for a year and a half. I lost my girlfriend. I lost everything. And my parents were like, "You'll never ride a fucking motorcycle again," and all this shit. And I suffered
Well, that'll
silently.
teach you.
Yeah, it taught me a lot.
I lost my license for a year on my TS 250, by the way. I forgot to mention that.
TS 250
No,
and
no,
a
I'm not.
GSXR 750 are both Suzuki's.
Yeah,
that is the
it's
end of the
basically same
similarities.
thing, right?
I also forgot to mention that bike's name was Satan's Bitch.
Right.
Look, his bike had a sticker on the side that said Sax.
Yeah, right.
It had Suzuki Advanced Cooling System.
Cooling system, right? Yeah, it's that, right. So after many, years of dealing with stuff, whatever, then I bought a Suzuki GS 550, like normal ass, like
normal
1980 something,
a regular bike.
and took girls on rides and did things.
You
and
became
stuff.
a more pedestrian motorcyclist.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then I had another something, I don't even remember what the other bike was. But then around like 98 or 99 or something like that, I started to notice that there were CBRs involved,
Yes.
like CBR 900s or
It's
all
a
that
tough
stuff.
place to be. Fireblades.
And then I met all the Starboys guys and all this stuff. And so I was into punk rock and stuff, and they weren't.
Nope.
But I liked the motorcycles, so I was like, okay. So then I started riding, and then so me and a couple of guys from a ridiculous, stupid hardcore band and stuff started the company called Rider for Life.
Yep.
And we kind of toured with the Starboys, and we were doing wheelies and stoppies and all this shit. And we started this company of T-shirts that kind of catered to the sport bike company.
You mean RFL?
Rider for Life, right?
Yeah.
And so that's actually around 2000 or something is when I actually met Phil.
Yep,
Because
that
we
was.
came to his shop and said, hey, you need to have all these cool shirts with stoppies and fucking wheelies and stuff. And he's like, you guys are completely homosexual assholes.
That's what I said. I was like, well,
But meanwhile, me internally, I'm like this guy that likes ska and punk rock and stuff, and I really don't appreciate the guys I'm with because they're not like they're all wearing Jankos and stuff, and I'm wearing checkered sneakers and like
they used to call their group the press at the time called his group Danger Incorporated.
Yeah, right. So we're trying to sell Phil on these
a
shirts
death
that
wish
are like
and a marketing
wheelie guys
plan.
and stuff, and Phil's holding to his roots and saying, "Yeah, I'm not going to sell that. Sorry. Would you like to go scooter racing? We're racing scooters."
That's what I told him. I was like, if you want to join us and you want to do what we're doing, get a bike, go out and race. We got a racetrack, we got licenses. We're going to go out and tear it up.
Like you're like we don't get arrested every week.
I'm so pissed off that the fucking weather does not allow us to ice race.
But anyway, so I
That was with Chubb Fresh.
yeah, Chubb and Steve Mira and Captain Trump and all these fucking people. This crazy.
Wait.
They're so
Say Trump?
oh yeah.
Yeah, well,
No,
this
these
is-
guys.
yeah,
No, these
right.
guys. It's crazy. No politics, whatever. But they're all like super hardcore. They're big alt-right people now. At this
We're
point.
fully ghetto. We don't even fucking care.
Yeah.
Wait,
Was their big thing, and we were like,
Trump.
Yeah.
no, not at all. Right? Yeah.
Captain Trump.
No. The dude is seriously like he's like. And
Yeah.
I don't care about politics, whatever.
Right.
But he is that. But anyways, so whatever. So all this happened, and so like Phil was like whatever, and I kind of felt disconnected because I'm like I like ska.
Right.
I listen to ska bands. I like
Who doesn't like
scooters,
ska?
like, you know,
Two-tone shit.
But I was
Right.
doing wheelies and all this
Right.
stuff. But so one day, around I want to say 2003,
Right.
I was a pretty good stoppy guy. I was never a super awesome wheelie guy. And I had a 900RR, and I was going 105 on Route 2, and I decided to do a stoppie. And my Scott steering dampener decided to say, you know what, I don't want to work today. And it flipped me off, and I broke my collarbone, like 6 ribs, like all kinds of
Seriously?
shit. And I slid down the road, and my bike spun behind me. But we had enough dudes when we did this where my bike was scooped up, thrown in the pickup truck. I was thrown in another truck, taken home, and said, here's a bunch of drugs, and here's some fucking alcohol, and wake up tomorrow.
Hey, so now I don't feel so bad about your hip.
No, well, no, I destroyed my hip on other things. But anyways, so after that, I kind of gave up the sport bike wheelie guy fucking squid bullshit. And then I just, I had bikes here and there, and I rode and I did stuff. And I'd stop into Phil's shop, and I didn't talk to him. I didn't talk to anybody. I just kind of looked around and did stuff. And then I got into some bikes or whatever. And then my second wife,
I'm going to make him look at the monitor now.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah, we had a lot of furred out bikes. Yeah, there's a lot of fur.
A lot of what bikes?
Furred out.
Furred out.
Well,
So
when you're doing wheelies, when you're doing wheelies, there's a purpose to this. When you're doing
Here's the purpose. Here's the purpose there, bro.
when you're doing wheelies all the time and you're crashing in parking
All
lots trying
the
to
time.
do slow wheelies, you break plastics. And so you start zip tying them together, and after they zip tied
Frankenstitches.
300 times, you're like, "What can I do to keep the plastic together?" So you 3W spray it, and then you put fucking fur on it, and no matter how much you fall over, the shit
It's
stays
still
together
fur,
because
man.
it's all stuck.
I'm going to
together
tell
with
you.
fur.
The bones are all crunching up and everything. It's a
Factory
bag of bones
plastic
crunching inside.
has got nothing on Michael's Craft Store fur.
Right.
Like, Fun Fur will hold together
Everything.
better than any
Right.
fucking, AirTech
You can crash
fairings.
27 times in a
Yeah.
day, and your shit
Fun
just
Fur
gets
looks
looser,
great.
but it's
It just
still
looks better.
fucking fur.
Yeah, it really
I
does.
learned something new
Yeah,
today.
it's
Yeah.
so true.
That was the whole
Keep it
point.
furry.
That was the whole point to that.
There
shit,
was a
whatever.
period of time in the
Future
90s.
today.
Not joking. These cats would come into my shop all the time to try to buy broken parts or whatever.
Or sell stolen bikes.
sell stolen
whatever.
bikes.
Hey, do you buy motorcycles? Because I'd really like to buy that scooter, but I'll give you 7 300 RRs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So do you like an RC51? Because I got 47 of them in my shed.
I've never not had motorcycles after that part. I've had a million different bikes, all different kinds of just like Magna 750s, which I love the Magna 750.
Magna's
It's a great bike and all this different things and all this stuff. And then I kept going and going and going, and I ended up buying a NC 700 and riding it around. And I was like, and that's when you had your shop in a Menor area. And I stopped back in, and so my wife started working for Case, and her boss was like, "Hey, I'm selling a scooter." And I said, "Oh, really?" I'm like, "I love scooters. Like, I always kind of wanted more scooters and stuff like that, things." And so I went there, and it seemed like it was working, so I gave her $1,000 and I took it. And then on the way home, it started to break, and then it started to break more.
It stopped working.
And then I went to Phil's shop, and he's like, "Well, can you get it here?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I rode it to the Menor shop and almost didn't get there. And it was a Stella. It was a 2-stroke Stella. And then Phil was like, "Everything is broke. This is going to cost you more than it's worth. Do you want to do it?" And I was like, "Well, I kind of have to." Because
I love
Go
that.
get your money back.
The bike in question had the notorious Stella bad crank. Uh-oh. And then on top of the
Shoot
Stella bad
yourself in the
crank,
dick.
they had kept adding shit to it to try to make the bad crank problem go away. And I was like, no,
Blown up crank. Let's put a top end on
exactly.
it. Let's put a big
And so
one.
I was like, no, we need to start over.
So Phil was like, "So listen, so we can either fix it or we can really fix it." And I was like, "Well, what's really fix it?"
Let's
"Well,
fix
we can
the
put
shit out of it."
a race crank, a race this,
Mazzucchelli.
race that, and all that, but it's going to take a while to get all this."
Right.
And I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Well, in the meantime,
Right.
I have this P200 sitting here not doing anything." And I was like, "Hey, that's no 125,
P125,
sorry,
yeah.
So I got the P125 and I started riding that, and then they worked on that, and then he was like, "Hey, you owe me like $97,000 for this scooter."
There was
And
at
I
least
said, "Okay, I'll pay the $97,000."
It was a fortune.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then I got that, and then so we started hanging out again, whatever. We relived all the other stuff.
And you put all Doctor Who stickers on a scooter so I couldn't hate him?
Yeah, right. So I had the Doctor Who stickers.
You motherfucker.
So but
That's it.
in my
He was
brilliant,
playing my heartstrings.
in my brilliant
Yeah.
scooterisms, I was like, you know what? This plastic sleeve that goes over the cylinder is stupid. This is dumb. Why
That
is it
cooling
over this
shroud
thing?
totally doesn't need to be there.
Doesn't need to be there. So then I was.
If we got rid of that cooling shroud, it would look so much cooler.
Yep. And then I was going like 70
look
miles an hour,
cool.
and then the engine decided to not work anymore.
No, it decided to be one unit of metal.
Metal. Yep, that's what it tried to do.
It decided that the non-homogeneous metals would become homogeneous.
Right. So I started my path down 2-stroke scooters, and I started to adopt them and do stuff, whatever, and all that. And then I bought a bunch of adventure bikes and things and stuff. And
Yeah,
I'm
it
up
was-
to like 1 million bikes. And
It's hilarious the way that you went from sport bikes to scooters, which re-energized you.
Oh, yeah.
Into riding bikes.
Well,
again.
you know what?
Yeah.
And this is an honest to God truth thing. And like, I don't tell a lot of people this, but it's like, I never felt comfortable. Like, I was sitting there during, like, I filmed the Starboys getting arrested in Florida.
Right.
Like, because I was always a film guy. That's what I do for a living. I do film and stuff for a living. And even back then, I was always had a camera and I'd be filming them. And I filmed the day that Scott, like, he always missed his dad, and he was really fucked up about his dad. He would do really shitty stuff and get hammered. And so we were in Florida for Stunt Wars with Todd Colbert and all these guys down in fucking Lakeland, Florida. He somehow started a backhoe and got the thing running with all these like stunner dudes who are like over as like over testosterone, super fucking jerk off dickheads. They're all cheering this dude on. So he takes this fucking backhoe like street scraper thing, gets it running, puts it in full gear, jumps off of it, and sends it toward a gas station. Right? And he's going to blow up the gas station and cause all like the whole city to go down, right? But then like 1 million people in SWAT come and shut that down and arrest him. And I have all that on video. I still have it on video of all this shit happen. So like I never really felt a part of those guys. So like when I found the scooter guys, I'm like, wow, they like the music I like and like they like all this stuff, and I don't really want to kill myself anymore. And so, you know, it was
And we go to Mid-Ohio.
Yeah.
And we have a good time.
Yeah.
And everything that we do is stupid. But not a ramp is not actually trying to kill anybody.
No, well,
not a ramp is just trying to have fun. Right?
Well, you know what else I like, and the thing that really drew me into what you do at your shop and all the guys here and stuff, is that fun. Well, no, but fun is cool. Yeah. Friendship is cool, but nobody pushes each other to be stupid to hurt yourself.
No,
like there's no hurt yourself.
Go ahead, hurt yourself.
Well, no, we all. Everybody's kidneys have been hurt at some point.
And this is the point where the video is solid gold.
Yeah. No, the kidneys have been hurt. Whatever.
We've hurt our share of livers,
but there's no the douchebaggery stops at douchebaggery and not it doesn't go past it.
Yeah,
so,
right on, man. Yeah. I mean, that's what we like about
it. Give
it is.
a hug.
There's a
It's totally true.
That's table right
now.
Wait. Let me give Schliebe a hug.
Well, also, so
do it.
Are you Swedish?
all right, hold on.
Fruity.
Here's coming.
But also, my name. If anybody needs to know,
Man down.
my name came. I was actually a successful DJ, and I toured the world for almost 16 years, and I was signed to 57 different record labels, and I did house music. So I made my living for 15 years.
I gave him a hug.
Traveling. Oh yeah, look up Discogs. Sleepy C
I
on
will hug all
Discogs.
over Cinch.
Go hug him.
No, I'm going to hug Cinch later.
So now that we've met the members of the Cleveland Moto Podcast, Midas, Cam, and Nick, would anybody like to read or would anybody like to hear our very last message from Rand?
Yes.
The man.
Oh my God, Rand the man. Oh man, I'm telling you. Like, so not even joking, Rand is my new favorite friend at 5 a.m.
Only when it's drunk.
Well, that's the way the package arrives. I don't choose, I don't judge. But the point being, oh my God, it's fantastic. Rand delivers on a Cleveland Moto level.
He can.
Every single time. Every single time. I love it. So here we go. Gonna say straight ahead, he threatens to call us. I'm gonna read this and then we're gonna try to call him.
Don't you fucking threaten me, okay?
Call
motherfucker.
him.
Thank you, sir.
We're gonna call him.
Call Rand.
We are. After I read this.
Call Rand.
So we're gonna call. I mean, this is about as big as we're gonna go. We read the last one last week, and I think just absolutely stunning success.
Oh, 100%.
Right, absolutely.
Wow.
I dig it. Yeah. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to start back with Rand opining about the problem with.
There's a lot of text on that phone.
There is. Oh no, it goes back for meters, meters and meters and meters.
It's the burner phone, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is our burner number for
burner
our
number.
podcast patrons,
Which you
So,
can
like,
be
high-
a little
high-tiered.
plug right now, right?
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the stuff. So the reason we did this, get to know Cleveland Moto, get to know Motard, because we are all Motards.
Yep.
We're
Yes, we
totally
are.
Motarded. And the reason we got to know a Motard was because we had a lot of people that are podcast or Patreon members said we want to know more about who the fuck they're dealing with. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who are these fuckers?
Who are these fuckers? I mean, right? Yeah.
So next
What are
week
these
we will
guys?
actually get to the IMS show stuff that we were.
Yeah.
possibly-
We'll deal with
all right,
that shit.
We'll do
Yeah.
that.
I couldn't miss though when getting the opportunity for us to be like, oh, we're gonna talk about us. So while I'm doing that, okay, how did Sleepy Cinch's hip surgery go? I sincerely hope it went well. If I got names wrong, I truly apologize, but I know who he is, and I seriously hope it goes and went well. My heartfelt wishes are with you, buddy.
It went fucking great.
It did went great.
Brand, I appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rand.
I'm not going to lie. I was very scared going into it. But any listener out there that's their doctor has said, like, hey, you might want to have your hip replaced.
Do it.
Fucking do it.
Sleeps. The
Like-
question is, where did you have your hip done?
Well, let's go back one step.
Yeah, let's do that.
So
Yeah,
I was looking at several different things, and there was a certain way. It's called the anterior approach that I wanted because
The anterior, because they go in through your
they go through the side,
Through
and
the
I think,
ass?
but more importantly, you have no movement restrictions the day of the thing.
I thought it was
right?
a managerial process.
Right. I went through my vagina, and they fixed it through my vagina. But so it was the whole thing, and so Chris. Wonderful wife. I tried to call a few times and stuff, and she hooked me up with the right people. And
At Metro Hospital.
Metro Hospital,
right?
Yeah,
And on top of that,
clinics
so I had gone to the
that-
Cleveland Clinic. I've gone to some other places, and they were very nonchalant. They didn't give a shit. They were like, "Yeah, you want to do it? Fuck you. Whatever. We can do it. Whatever." But honestly, I'm not lying. Metro Health was like, "You know what? We would like to talk to you. Let's do it." So I met with the doctor. He went over my stuff, and realistically. They made a great plan, and from the moment I went in there till I left, it was the best experience I've ever had with any kind of an operation.
Yeah.
The follow-up, the people that actually care, the people that call you, like
They momentarily removed your leg.
momentarily
They
move my leg.
shifted over slightly.
Yep.
They took off the hinge.
Yep.
They put in a new hinge.
Yep.
Ball and socket.
If you've ever had a motorcycle with a really bad swing arm,
Yep.
they greased my swing arm, put new shocks on, and fucking put it all back together with a new fucking tire on the
New,
back.
new bronze
Steve-
phosphor bushings.
So, Steve, the question is, how would you rate that surgery on a scale of 9 to 10?
11?
Hey.
11.
Roman
11.
twist.
Oh, fuck yeah.
It really was good. And let me say this.
Uber and Roman twist.
No, but seriously, there's guys out
Listen to
there.
this.
There's guys out there that are having hip
Hey.
pain, right? You can be. I'm only
Cinch.
4. What?
Blah, blah, blah.
No, Steve, say it. Say it, man.
Seriously, no. But there's guys out there. I'm 48 years old, right? I never thought that I would have to have a hip replacement.
Just,
But I was in pain. I was in literal pain all the time from this bad hip. And honestly, like this surgery, it's changed my life. Like it really has.
Good thing you did it.
My day-to-day living experience is better because of it.
Yeah.
So, Steve, what was your rehab schedule? So, you had surgery. At what point after your surgery could you walk?
The day of the surgery.
You guys hear that?
That's amazing.
But I had motivation. So I was laying there, and the nurse came in and she said, "Hey, dude, it's like 8:30 at night, and if you don't pee by midnight, we're gonna have to do a catheter in your wiener."
Oh no!
And I said, "Okay." So they gave me the thing that you sit in the thing and whatever, and I couldn't make it work. I don't know if it's gravity, whatever, but I couldn't. So I asked the lady, I'm like, "Can I stand up and go to the bathroom?" She's like, "Can you?" And I'm like,
I can damn well try.
yeah. And she was like, "It's up to you." And I was like, "Okay." So I stood up, and it kind of hurt, obviously the incision and stuff.
It's not going to feel great.
Same day.
But it was the incision. So once I got up on the leg, it didn't hurt.
Right.
So then I went in there and I pushed my and I pissed like a motherfucker. And I was like, "You're not sticking anything in my dick. Thank you very much." That's exactly right. But seriously, like a few days later, it was like this, and then they were like, so everybody worries
So you'd
about
say that your dick is exit only?
exit only.
Excuse me.
No sounding?
Excuse me. Steve would like to ask if they touched your tickle button.
I'm sure at some point.
Multiple times while he
I'm
was
sure.
under. Yeah.
But here's the thing: they did such a good job. So they like I was really scared of pain pills. I was really scared of opioids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they were like, "We're going to give you the minimal amount. If you have problems, you can call us and whatever." So they gave me these really tiny motherfuckers, and they said take them every 4 hours. Well, I took them every 8 hours, and I kind of dealt with it, whatever.
Whoa,
and
wrong way around. You're supposed to take those every 2 hours.
No, but here's the thing: within 2.5 weeks, I was off the pain pills, and I said, "Fuck it."
That's the way to do
I
it.
would be
Yeah,
amazed
and
if
then I was
people
done.
did
For
it.
you.
I mean,
Yeah.
the fact that
So
you-
now I'm five weeks in, and I'm doing PT and stuff. I'm walking. I got no cane. I have no pain. Like just a little bit in the incision, but it's a completely different pain. You know what I mean?
We all wish you were a woman.
Well, I have a wife, so
the way they do a hip is they're able to cut the whole hip out and everything. They don't actually cut through the muscle.
No,
They
they
just
move.
separate the muscles. move
Well,
them to
no,
the
they
side.
cut it a little bit, but it's to the point where you don't have to have you're not.
minimally invasive.
Yeah, right. But it's pretty amazing. I mean, like I couldn't imagine that it was that good and how well it worked
but
out.
the scar that you have it's like 6 inches. I mean, it's
It's
not
6
small,
inches.
but it's still.
It's
Totally.
if,
6 inches.
It's 6 inches. Yeah, that's what I said.
No,
6
but
inches. That's fine. Yeah,
if you're
it's all
worried
good.
about being if you're
Irish 6 inches.
hey, if you're a fucking hip model and you have a giant dick and you're worried about it, then you might lose a little
or
bit
if
of
you're a
money.
hip model.
But nobody in the history, even my wife, doesn't want to see any part of this area, so I'm fine, dude.
Hey, Steve. Hey, Steve.
Glad to hear it.
Do you want to hear, Steve?
You're not going to.
Now we're moving on
It's last call in Porco at this point.
Oh my God, somebody's calling. But do you want to hear
Yes.
what Rand sent
yeah.
us
Yes.
immediately after
Of the
hearing
grumpy guy.
us attempt to call him last
shit.
week?
Yes, but we're going to call him today too, right? Though.
Well,
He's calling right now.
We'll see.
he might
be
be
him calling right now.
We'll
Call
see.
Rand.
he's calling the wrong
Let's be
number.
quiet. Let's hear,
Right,
hear
right,
the
right.
voice now.
No, you won't. But anyway.
Okay.
Okay. So here we go. So he responds back. Now, this is after he's listened to the podcast.
Oh, and he knows we're trying to get a
Like,
hold
oh
of
shit,
him.
I got called out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was fantastic. Hey, Phil, truth is I'm boring as shit when I'm sober, which is 90% of the time.
Don't
You don't-
worry, you won't be sober
We'll-
around us.
We all are. Yep.
You don't want me on your podcast anytime when I'm sober.
Okay.
Wow.
Neither do our audience. So today was a hard day at work, so I'm having a drink or two.
Giddy up,
Buckle up,
son.
boys.
Yeah.
All right.
Giddy up.
I'm going to be at the one show, and I'll track you and John down, though. Can't wait to meet you guys. John is going to be there, right?
Yep.
Oh, he's got a lubed up
Clickety
glove
click.
just waiting for you,
Again,
buddy.
it is so difficult to listen to you
I've got
guys.
one waiting for him.
Hey.
Again,
Turn him out.
it is so difficult to listen to you guys on the podcast 5 days or so after the fact that you're trying to call me at 5 o'clock in the morning
Call Ron.
while I'm driving to
Call
work
Rand.
saying, call Rand, call Rand, call Rand.
No,
That's impossible.
Call him now.
He's 3 hours
Call
behind
Rand.
us.
Call Rand.
Oh, he's listening.
Call him.
Hey, Sleepy, he doesn't get us live.
Right, right.
Call him right now.
Do you want to call him right now, or do you want me to read?
Call that
Do you want
fucker
me to
now.
call him right now,
It's 8 o'clock.
or do you
It's
want me to read the rest of this?
No.
Read the rest of it.
No. Read it first. Read it first.
Finish reading the rest.
Steve?
and then we'll
Okay.
call.
Yeah, we have
Steve
10 minutes. We have
Steve?
10
It's 8
minutes.
o'clock.
Do you want me to read this?
Shut your
Or do you want me
pie.
to call him?
Let's go. Yeah.
Steve, settle down.
Apologize.
We've said this before. All right. Saying, call Rand when I'm stone cold sober. I feel like I let you guys down. Sorry. It feels like there's no way the timing would work out right. Unless I iron butted myself out to Cleveland this spring or summer.
Yes.
Wish I was single,
Vintage
but I
days.
might be able to overcome it.
Vintage days.
I'll
Vintage
see you
days.
guys next week. Hey, I went over to the Vancouver, BC motorcycle show last weekend, like we did.
Yeah.
He went to Vancouver. I really wanted to go to your show in Cleveland, but the time and the money didn't make sense. I took Terry, and it went horribly bad. We walked into the show, and there was a Kawasaki display. It was front and center. I was a kid in the candy store. I was sitting on anything and everything. I fell in love with the Z900 RS.
As many people did. Yeah, we did.
That
Yeah.
green metallic paint
Oh,
scheme.
yeah.
Oh, man.
Beautiful. Beautiful bike.
800.
The super.
W800.
Well, W800, but there was that KZ, that Z900 RS.
Oh, yeah. It's a
Badass.
nice
The
looking
super
bike.
secret is look up a Kawasaki Zephyr 1100 in that same livery.
Yep, same colors. Yeah. I was seriously jonesing on that. Then I told Terry I wanted to grab a plastic bag to throw our pamphlets in, and she disappeared. My instincts told me to sit tight so she could find me. An hour later, she showed up. I'll explain next week.
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
But I was
Plot
pissed.
thickens.
I did sit on the concourse. I loved it. The concourse versus the Z900 RS. What do I do?
Chris
Not
Smith
a
will
question
tell you.
For you, only I can decide.
Call Rand.
Call Rand. Hey, Phil, on the next episode.
Wait. A
Oh, wait.
concourse versus a Z900?
Yeah.
I can decide
I
that
can
for
decide.
you.
All right. So, hey, Phil, on the next episode, can you do a slow and steady introduction of everyone?
Well, we just did that.
In my mind, I think I have all the names messed up. In my world, I send me a PDF with pictures and subtitles and the names and
Holy fuck.
and a 3-word description of each person. 3 words,
Done
boys.
and done.
3
Yep.
words.
Well, we also did a sperm sample, so we're going to send that out.
Big,
Call
fat,
Rand.
stupid.
Rand.
Check your FedEx.
My heart goes out to the grumpy skewer guy.
Yeah.
The only guy that gets called out.
He and I are in the same world. My job consists of designing the pipes that get the turds to him.
I love that guy. I totally love that guy.
Oh, his pipes back up.
Then he sprinkles them with unicorn fart dust on the turds and they completely disappear before discharging effluent downstream.
Call Rand.
Seriously, he has the most important job in the world and nobody knows about it or appreciates it. He is the thin brown line between civilized life and dysentery.
Yes!
The
Brown
thin brown line.
I love it.
I love that guy.
thin brown
I
line.
totally love that guy.
The thin brown line. If it wasn't for the grumpy old scooter riding sewer guy, you all would be in a world of shit. Doff your caps and give him a heartfelt thank you.
Steve!
Stever.
Yes!
Give him a laurel and hearty handshake.
Stuffing of cat.
Call Rand.
Doffing of caps.
Wait,
Doffing of
call him
caps.
right now. What's his number?
Do you want me to read this or do you want to call him?
Call him.
No,
Call him.
Call him. Come on.
Call him.
Finish.
And could somebody please tell me his name?
Steve Hoffer!
The Hoff.
And give me a list of names, goddammit. All right. Fuck, I've got to go to work in the morning. Uh-oh, ran out of regular liquor on a weeknight. All that's left is that damn dirty bottle of Stroh.
Oh,
Tomorrow
God.
is going to suck.
Oh, yeah.
Tip of the cap to Moto and their 100th anniversary episode. Moto, 100th
Well done, guys.
Did you listen to their intro? Fan-fucking-tastic. The story behind the pickle. Right on. We love the pickle.
Dan.
Hey, Phil, I'm sending a message to Noco about telling them about the show next weekend. I'm referencing you. I hope that's okay.
No, it's okay.
You can reference me whenever the fuck you want.
Dan has DNA still on him from you.
He does.
Yeah.
It is true.
Yeah.
And you know what? MotoG Pete and
Yeah.
Squiggy, you know what? Their lives will never be the same after
No.
meeting Cleveland Moto. All right. My
That
goal
was
is
a
to-
great time in Columbus, by the way, right? Yeah.
And my goal is to get all you guys together. Yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah, that's
Fuck
good.
yeah. We
Yeah.
all love hanging out together. Wouldn't that be cool? You bet your ass it would.
10-4, good buddy.
And I would like to
Wait, no,
remind
this
you,
guy's in Portland.
this guy's in Portland. And all
I have to go to Portland.
Go with the.
if only
You're
we
going to
knew
Portland,
somebody in
and
Portland.
You're going to Portland. I'm going to Portland.
I think you got to buy a ticket to Portland.
Yes.
I
All right.
do.
Do it.
So I woke up at dark 30 and I saw this message and I was like, just woke up and saw this text. Fantastic. He's like, sorry to wake you up. I'm like, yeah, Johnny Mac and I will be at the one show. Yeah. And Steve Hofford is the grumpy water treatment guy. Steve, have to try to lock that in. I said, we'll do a proper introduction of everybody at this week's podcast, which y'all just heard.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
3 hours later.
3 hours later. It's been too long since
I'm
we've done
sorry.
one.
I'm such a sloppy drunk.
He said, spreadsheet, starting one now. I said, yep, the Pickles song for the 100th episode rocked.
No?
I said,
It's kind of funny because my daughter worked for a company called This Pickle.
we like the pickle.
No.
All right. So unfair, I want to be there. I pleaded to Liza to contact Noco to attend the one show. I need you to put the pressure on them as well.
Yeah.
Whether or not MotoGP and Squiggy show up, it's up to them, but we are going to have an epic time no matter what happens. He said, you, me, Liza, Noco, and Johnny Mac watching the flat track races.
Yes, sir.
And Johnny Macklefresh. And he did sign your name almost right.
Close enough. Close enough.
And apparently Emma's going to be there too.
Ooh.
All right,
Wait.
so that's cool. And Knock.
Oh, Knock.
Yep.
Fuck yeah.
Knock's gonna be
Knock,
Yep.
what's up, Knock?
Knock's gonna be
Fuck
there.
Knock.
have to
I
be
love
there.
Knock. Knock's awesome.
Knock.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway,
I like all of the Misfits.
I do too.
I do indeed.
I love every single Misfit.
And he says, "Will Dr. Waters be attending? Not on your goddamn life." No, I'm going to tell you, Dr. Waters believes in only first world vacations. And if we're going to be at in Portland with all of us,
What does
that
that
is
mean?
not a first world
Wait,
vacation.
Call him
She
now.
doesn't
She's
want to
been
smell.
to Mexico with us.
That's totally first world. Yeah.
Call him
Really?
now.
Yeah.
She does not want to smell dude farts for days.
So dude says, I was like, okay. I was like, so she's got to work, so no Dr. Waters. This is an epic trip for us for sure. We're looking forward to the alibi and feminist strippers.
Yes.
And he says, I'm just trying to gauge my appropriateness. I said, oh, and Naked Jim will be there.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
So all
Yep.
bets are off. Do you remember the Chrome, like getting ourselves painted
Oh,
up
yeah,
for
yeah.
Valhalla?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
yeah.
Jim impressed me.
One of those guys?
Yeah, that was good. Flaming Burnouts, that was good. And then he writes, oh, snap, this is over my normal daily civil engineering conceptualization, but I'm all in. You know, I've listened to I've listened to you for a long time, to you and the Misfits, but I don't know the basis of the term Naked Jim. Well,
You're going to find out.
it turns out
well.
it's kind of one of those self-explanatory things.
It just happens.
Yeah, it's good. Seriously.
You don't have to read into it.
No.
He says, Phil, seriously, I'm fucking sober. I'm fucking boring when I'm sober. You're going to think I'm a tool when you meet me. Not likely.
No.
I can't stress this enough. In the absolutely worst case scenario, I have a warehouse location where we can group up and talk shit. It's about a half an hour away from the show, but it's quiet and controlled.
You better take the Boy Scout.
As long as
R2 unit as well be packed.
It won't be quiet or controlled.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
I should be sleeping right now, but I'm so damn excited about bringing you, the Misfits, and NOCO and Moto together. My location is boring, but we can talk about the burn fire and shit and fire pits. And sorry, burning shit is nowhere near close enough to the show, but if we get kicked out of someplace, I have a place that I work at that is cool enough that we can burn shit, drink, and have a good time.
Hell yeah.
Oh, shit, my warehouse sucks. We don't have any bikes. That's what he says.
Who cares?
I mean, my
fire,
warehouse
dude.
sucks only because we don't have any bikes, but I can bring everyone to my warehouse and we can talk shit and burn shit. But my location is far from the show. This is at 0300 Cleveland time.
Yes.
I'm in a bad place. I have to be smart and work in the morning.
call him.
That's
Call
overrated.
But all I want to do is talk about bikes. I'm probably going to get fired tomorrow.
Yep.
Oh boy.
And then, sorry, self-pity. I'll fucking get through work and ignore my notions about the above, about my dismissal. But it's not your issue. Delete this all promptly.
Nope.
And then the next morning at 10:40 a.m., he writes, Jesus, that went dark.
Yep. Well done, my friend.
No
Well done.
worries.
Yep.
I
no
can
worries.
fake it.
Yep. We
I
love
said
it.
that happens to the best of us, especially when we start thinking about work.
Yep.
And he says, as usual, I was mostly full of shit. Sorry. But my,
As
But-
every one
but
of
my
us.
sentiments were real.
Yep.
If I wasn't full of shit, I wouldn't be full of anything.
And
Yep.
again,
Yep.
so now here we go, guys.
Call.
Yep. Ren.
It's not that bad.
No, it's not bad at all.
You should know better.
Sober. I wouldn't pick up.
Oh, fuck.
I wouldn't
Pick up.
Let's
Pick
go
up.
to voicemail.
This is the
Come on,
second time you
Rand.
tried.
Answer the fucking
Come on,
phone,
Rand.
Rand.
Let us go to voicemail. You know
Don't
what?
do it.
Unless I was,
Do it. Do
unless
it.
I was
Don't do it.
In the
Answer,
bag,
answer.
I wouldn't pick up.
Come on, do it.
I wouldn't pick up.
Do
Give
it.
him two. Give him two calls.
Do it.
You gotta give him two.
I wouldn't pick up.
Send him a text first. Say we're calling you.
It's one fucking call.
Call again.
Call him back. Call him back. You gotta give him
Send
two.
a
Give him
text saying,
two.
Call him
hey,
again.
we're
No,
calling
the
you.
text first. Yeah.
We need just a little bit of help to convince Steve Hoffert,
You're
the
real.
grumpy sewer guy,
I love
That
you.
you're real.
to go to Portland.
Yep. Yep.
I love you a
No,
little bit
and then
less
send
than
another
Daniel.
one. Answer the goddamn phone, motherfucker. That's important,
Answer the phone, comma, motherfucker.
Thank you.
Period.
You don't care if
30
you're sober.
seconds.
Nope.
Give him 30
You don't care if you're sober.
Yeah. Give him a
give
moment.
him a minute to answer.
Yep.
Yeah, to
listen.
read
What do you
Text
think is the
read.
rate? Do we say 30 seconds? Do we say a minute?
A minute.
60
Like a minute. A minute.
A minute.
Give it
A minute.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so what do you think? So now that we have Rand as like our little buddy here,
I don't think he's a little buddy. He's
no, he's a
larger
big-
than by
big
a long
buddy,
shot.
right?
Yeah.
And honestly, again, based on his description earlier,
6'4", 250 pounds.
right?
He's a patron.
but how is he not surrounded with cool guys since he's like cool?
Again,
It
needs to
sounds
move
like
to
he lives
Louisville.
outside of Portland.
right.
Yeah.
He's got obviously a little issue going on with maybe being cooped up a little bit
Right.
with the wifey poos.
Right.
As
Which
one
we all
does. As
have.
one does.
And that
As
doesn't
one
mean you
does.
want to get
Yeah.
a divorce.
My wife tries
That
to
doesn't
stab
mean
me
you
on
don't
a
like
daily
your wife.
basis. I'm just
It
saying.
just means that, well, there's a little bit of stifling that can
Wait,
go on.
can I wait? Hold on. My wife. So I had to
Especially
have,
women over 40, they're all
Here we
busy.
go.
I had to have blood.
Would you guys
Wait,
ready?
what?
Ready?
What?
3, 2, 1.
Oh.
Hey, Rand, what's going on, man?
Oh. Wait. More.
We got to get some more audio on that.
Speaker.
We'll rub some heat on that. All right. So here we are with Rand.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yes! Finally! Yes!
Okay, so Steve, the grumpy sewer guy,
Yeah.
drank $200 worth of bourbon tonight.
Oh my God! I'm so glad he called in.
Yes.
Well, thank God. You know what? I love you,
There
man.
with you guys.
Yeah, and this is one of those podcasts where we start with a table full of brown liquor, and the weird thing is
through it.
the bottle of moonshine is the only bottle that didn't get open.
It didn't get
so
open.
good. No, it's open.
Oh, is it open?
It's open.
Oscar's doing the moonshine. So, so if you could say, like, we know that John McElfresh has committed to coming to Portland.
Tickets are bought.
Oh, it's on.
The tickets are bought. We got the hotel room. We're good to go. The thing is, like, my hotel room doesn't care whether or not there's 2 people in it or 3 people in it, and I got a rental car. So, should we get Steve Hoffert, the grumpy sewer guy? Should we
get the grumpy sewer guy?
Grumpy sewer guy want to show up.
Why wouldn't he want to show up?
Yeah.
I want to show up. I love you, man.
Yeah, and he also so when Liza and Knock and Emma came out to Mid Ohio, Steve got along. He bonded instantly with Emma and Liza and Knock, and realistically, I don't know why the fuck Mr. Hoffert doesn't join us in Portland.
Yeah.
He's got to join us in Portland.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
How could he not?
Right? How could he not? I don't think
Us
he.
sewer guys got to hang out together.
That's it. Yes.
So if everybody's coming out to see you out there, well, who can? Are you coming to the Mid Ohio Vintage Days to hang out with us?
It's not a bad idea.
Man.
Well, so
We
we'll
can
work
talk
on
about
that.
that. We
Yeah,
can
yeah.
talk
We'll
about
work
That's a
on
big
that.
one.
Yeah,
You got to do that.
Don't give me
buddy.
this old man shit.
Hey, Sleepy Sitch makes the best coffee that I've ever had.
Yes.
Yes, he does.
yeah, we do tend to take care of each other pretty good in
Yeah.
Ohio. So,
right.
honestly, John and I have been insanely excited about the whole idea of coming out to Portland. The more that we look into it, the better idea it sounds. And
On the other hand, we're pretty drunk right now.
that's also true.
But still, they already bought the tickets, so it's all good.
I'm stone cold sober. And it's,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, you better catch up then.
That's not difficult to fix.
Yeah, and it's the weirdest thing because the way we do the podcast is everybody shows up sober, and then Kromke brings in like
most of
9
them.
bottles
Of mead.
of mead. Tonight we're only drinking mead and bourbon.
Yeah, bourbon.
And Sicer.
And Cicer.
And
I'm
beer.
still convinced that Cicer might be mead.
Yeah, fuck you.
And moonshine.
So it is.
And I'm worried that $200 whiskey is not much better than $100 or $50 whiskey at this point.
Oh no, it's better.
Is it better?
I just drank the tin
Can you
cup.
please
Yeah.
explain that I'm not grumpy?
No, he's not grumpy.
Yeah, you are.
He's a bit of a curmudgeon.
Yes.
Yeah. He's a curmudgeon.
I
He's
find
not-
Steve quite lovable.
the only reason I say that is because if you've never met you, if I've never seen you or anything,
Right.
you just sound like the crankiest one on the.
I'm not
Very
cranky at all.
astute. Very astute.
Rand, apparently
He's a cranky motherfucker.
I am not cranky.
Motherfucker.
He's emotional. He's not
Rand,
cranky. He's
apparently
emotional.
you are hearing us in Technicolor. So you have got 20/20 hearing.
Mean son of a bitch.
Tell you that if anybody needs a trip to Portland, it's Steve Hoff.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I once had
Come on, Steve.
I once went to a strip club for breakfast in Portland.
Yes.
And I think that that's probably
Gonna
what's
happen.
yeah.
I
I think that's
want to know
The
if it's
best
like
thing about
Portlandia. I love Portlandia.
Yeah, Steve does love Portlandia. He's got an unnatural attraction to Portlandia, which Portland people hate. They like Portland people are like, don't accuse us of being like put a bird on it. Yeah, right. Yeah. So, but again, if we can get Steve to come out, I'm going to consider it to be a major life goal achieved.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So right on, dude. So, have you got your tickets yet for the show?
yeah, I got my tickets.
Excellent.
Sets of tickets.
Oh, right on, man. Very cool. Yeah.
I got thoroughly raped by Ticketmaster.
Yes. Yeah. Ticketmaster.
Purchased like the ticket insurance because I was fucked up when I did it.
We don't believe that.
Yes. No.
So, in some weird place of your mind, you're hoping that something goes bad so you can use your ticket insurance.
Exactly. I was like,
Wait, do they have White Castle in Portland?
Oh, God. No, probably not.
No, they don't. Yeah.
no White Castle.
No White Castle in Portland.
That's
You know
you
what,
have
but
bourbon there.
There's a million cool things you can do in Portland.
Is there bourbon in Portland?
I can take you to
It's legal weed for for me, if I could come, fuck.
Wait, did you smoke weed in Portland?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And I'll take you to a cowboy
there.
shop in downtown. There's a cowboy shop I like to go to in downtown Portland. It's got saddles on the second floor. So it's all this really, I'm an
Hey,
old,
can I put a bit in Michael Fresh's mouth?
Oh, yeah. Dude, we'll buy a bit and bridle. You can ride Michael Fresh until the Yeah, dude.
Wow.
I'm all down for that.
I need some pictures.
I think for that, we go English style.
Yes.
Wait, no.
I want to go Master Blaster.
Daniel's got to come with us.
Hey, who runs Bartertown?
Oh, yeah.
Oscar, you got to go.
Who runs Bartertown?
Crumpy, maybe.
Master Blaster. Yeah, I cannot say
wait.
enough. I'm so looking forward to like a mother's breakfast, like a proper Portland experience. Yeah.
But don't scare him. You don't have to do anything. Just
No.
be you.
Yeah.
That's all that's it.
Oh yeah, for the record, I know that you're kind of like,
was
well,
so
I'm not loaded up, and I'm only fun when I'm loaded up.
Yeah, no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that.
actually,
Yeah, bitch be cool.
Wait,
Bitch be cool.
I am loaded up, and I am not fun when I'm loaded
Bitch
up.
be cool. It's all good.
Steve's a grumpy old man when he's
I'm a
not
fucking
loaded.
grumpy old bastard.
You don't. Here's the thing. You don't have to get everybody arrested to think you're cool.
Nah,
No,
That's
no.
the thing. Yeah, right.
You're cool already,
cool.
yeah.
However,
yeah, we're all. I mean, honestly, the fact that you're listening to
I think
us.
it's safe to say too, we're not going to be riding anything.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point. We're going to be in the
or anyone.
we're going to be in the salubrious confines of an Uber or maybe a Lyft.
Salubrious.
We don't
I
need
like it.
any. We
I
don't
mean,
need.
I'd ride a mini bike or something stupid or a dirt bike.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't plan on
I think
anything.
Johnny
I want a
Mike,
monkey.
Johnny Mac
Give
might.
me a monkey.
Johnny-
Monkey.
Okay, so I'm what I'm hearing is we have two flat track candidates.
Monkey.
Yeah, the problem is these two guys. They get a couple of drinks in them. They're like, I'll race that on
A couple?
Dr. Pepper.
Really? A couple?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
So wait, is his wife okay with him being debaucherous?
No.
Debauched.
No.
He said he bought 2 tickets.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
All right.
Now, did you buy a ticket for you and the missus?
Yeah, just in case.
Smart man.
Stuff,
So,
yeah.
so I did hear you mentioned something about hanging out in the Kawasaki booth, and then your wife disappeared.
Oh, did I tell you about that?
Yeah, you did.
Oh yeah. Yes, you did.
Rand, I'd like to tell you, I have a way with wives. Just so you know.
Don't let him alone with Mac.
No, nothing like that.
She won't be able to sit
I'm
for
very
days.
good at. I'm
It's
very,
not.
I'm very good at wrangling wives.
John is the wife whisperer.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
John is very good at making wives understand that this is just us having a good time.
This is what Rand needs.
Yeah. So now let me just give me a tiny bit, just a little bit. Just give me the tip.
Just a tip.
And
Whoa, whoa.
just
Oh,
for
wait,
a
no.
minute.
Just a tip.
Not
Just
just
the
a
tip,
tip.
just for a minute. Just the tip, and just for a minute. What happened to your wife when she disappeared when you were in the Kawasaki booth?
I don't know if she's listening to me on the other side of the garage door, but
No.
disappeared on me.
Where'd she go?
I went to grab a bag to stick some pamphlets and flyers in, and then I go back. I said, I'll be right back, and then she disappeared. And then I fucking stood at that goddamn Kawasaki place for about 45 minutes waiting for her to show back up. And she's back up after about 45 minutes or an hour, and I was just fucking...
Honest question. Was her jaw sore when she came?
Sorry.
No, she's...
Now, if you can ignore the obvious prurient comments of my associate, if you can find your way to ignore that, I'd like to take you back to, if I could, Cleveland, Ohio, at our motorcycle show, the same weekend of our motorcycle show, we had a bridal
Which
show.
I wanted to go to.
Yeah.
But
So,
it's a fucking long ways away.
oh, it is. It's ridiculous, and we wouldn't recommend it to anybody unless you like White Castle and strong liquor.
Wait.
50%.
Yeah.
We tend to run about 80% around here.
Also, Strode's doesn't mix with root beer.
Strode doesn't mix with anything.
No.
But they had a bridal show. So the other
Absolutely.
side of the hall that we were in, so the hall that we were in, one half of the hall was motorcycle cosplayers, and the other half of the hall was bridal
Cosplayers.
and bridal accoutrement. So like it was DJs and catering and tablecloths and whatnot.
Tattoo removals.
Yeah, tattoo removals, exactly. And bridal accoutrement. So if your wife disappeared for 45 minutes during the midst of the show, she may have just wandered over and found something exciting to look at, like something that wasn't a Kawasaki Z900 RS. Because realistically, the greatest woman in the world won't get excited about a Kawasaki Z900 RS because
I love that bike.
I know, right? Dude, it's fucking gorgeous, right?
We got them here, baby.
So a Z900, we've always talked about the Z900 being probably the greatest revitalization of a vintage motorcycle ever. And then they do it with the paint schemes, like the candy green and the candy
green.
Yeah, the candy green, the candy root beer. Fucking good, man. Like they know what they're doing. If your wife disappeared, honestly, your wife probably just went over to talk to the people from like
Harley Davidson or
Dukaki or Bukaki or whatever. Yeah. Honestly, they pose no real threat. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But then I had to drag her around, and we got so pissed off at each other that she followed me at 10 paces for the entire rest of the show.
It's like the Iraqi parliament. Yeah, the Iraqi parliament is required to follow behind 10 paces and 1 step off to the left. So that's the way it works.
Listen to you.
I don't think you can't recover from this.
I honestly can't wait to meet your wife. I think she sounds like a wonderful woman.
Again, John McElfresh is a bit of a wife whisperer. So he can smooth it over.
He's just a great fucking guy.
He is a great guy. Yeah. And if she doesn't fall to that,
I want to go now.
All you can do is show her a picture of my garage, and if she sees my garage, she'll be thrilled she's married to you.
I might quit my job and come to this show. I might do that. That might happen.
So as far as we're concerned, I'm so glad you picked up the phone. That couldn't be better.
Thank you very much, buddy.
Yeah.
That's great. And if we can
cheers.
And we're all going to raise our glasses. To Rand.
Rand,
baby.
The grumpy sewer guy.
So Rand, we got to call your attention to. We've had about 17 emails this week, and 14 of them said call Rand.
Yep. And we did.
So settle the fuck down, Rand.
So we called Rand. We're gonna bring the R2 unit to
Quick
Portland.
question, Rand. Are you drinking? It's a Friday night. What the fuck's your problem?
Johnny Max says, so quick question, are you drinking?
Easy.
No, we were sitting down for dinner. No.
Oh, shit. Fucking 8 o'clock. No, it's 8 o'clock. I'm barely out of work on Friday nights at 8 o'clock.
Pretty much.
Yeah, for real.
Lame.
Some of us worked 48 hours a week.
Yeah.
Way to go, engineer. Oscar's making a gas face. Yeah. Oscar gets out of work at the crack of 3 p.m. because he goes in at 4:30.
I do.
Damn. So for reals, we are not joking about coming out to Portland. We will connect information as we do.
Yep.
And,
but if everybody is going to you have to come to Vintage Days. That's important.
I think we'll work on that.
So we're staying at Rand's house.
We're staying at Rand's house. That was the plan, right?
Nice.
I already sent him the address to our fucking hotel. So.
Nice.
Rand, it's all parties at Rand's house. Yeah. So when you do come out, we do want to get together with a whole bunch of podcast hooligans, and we want you to be there.
Thanks,
And we're going to take care of you.
And we are going to take care of you. Yeah. So here's to
Rand.
All right, man. Ride fast and take chances.
Yeah, buddy.
Ba, ba, ba,
Hit the button.
Hit the button.